I stood in my tiny studio apartment, fresh flowers on the thrift store table, homemade lasagna warming in the oven. My phone buzzed with Mom's text, "Running late, sweetie." 3 hours later, silence. Then my sister Lauren's Instagram story appeared, my parents laughing at her marble dining table, Dad carving prime rib while Mom poured wine. The caption read, "Best surprise dinner ever." My lasagna went cold, 28 years old and still invisible. But when Grandma Dorothy walked through my door holding an old shoebox, everything changed. The week before my housewarming party had been a whirlwind of excitement and exhaustion. I'd picked up extra shifts at the marketing firm where I worked, staying until 9 or 10 each night to earn enough money for the special groceries I wanted to buy. My boss had noticed my dedication, commenting that I seemed extra motivated lately. If only he knew I was doing it all for one simple goal: to finally host my parents in my own home. My studio apartment might have been only 400 square feet, but I was determined to make every inch shine. On Monday, I'd started with the bathroom scrubbing the old tiles until they gleamed white again. Tuesday was dedicated to the kitchen area, where I descended into the depths behind the stove to clean spots that probably hadn't seen a sponge since the building was constructed in the 1970s. By Wednesday, I was attacking the windows with newspaper and vinegar the way Grandma Dorothy had taught me when I was 12. The decorating process consumed my evenings. I'd discovered a Pinterest board titled "Small Space Big Party" and threw myself into crafting paper lanterns from tissue paper and wire. Each fold had to be perfect, each color coordinated with my limited palette of coral and sage green. My fingertips bore the evidence of hot glue gun battles, but by Thursday night I had a collection of decorations that would transform my humble space into something magical. Calling Mom had become a ritual of hope mixed with anxiety. The first call on Tuesday morning caught her at the grocery store. "Oh, the housewarming, yes dear, we have it on the calendar." Her voice carried that distracted quality I'd grown accustomed to over the years. "Your father and I wouldn't miss it for the world." Wednesday's call found her at Lauren's house. I could hear my nephew playing in the background, my sister's voice calling out about organic snacks. "Saturday at 6, right?" Mom confirmed, though I'd already told her 3 times. "We'll be there with bells on. Do you need us to bring anything?" "Just yourselves," I'd replied, trying to keep the eagerness out of my voice. "I'm making Dad's favorite lasagna." "Oh, how thoughtful. Though you know Lauren makes it with truffle oil now. Have you tried that? It's absolutely divine." By Friday's call, something felt different. Mom's responses had grown shorter, less committed. "We'll certainly try our best to make it, Andrea. You know how unpredictable traffic can be on Saturdays." I'd pushed down the familiar flutter of disappointment. This was my first real home, my first chance to host them properly. Not in a dorm room with a hot plate, not in the shared house with 4 roommates where privacy was a luxury. This was mine, small as it might be, and I wanted them to see what I'd accomplished. The grocery shopping expedition on Friday evening became its own adventure. I'd made a detailed list, budgeting down to the penny. Fresh basil for the sauce not dried, real mozzarella from the Italian market, not the pre-shredded stuff. Ground beef from the butcher counter where the man in the white apron knew me by name now and always saved the best cuts. The ingredients alone cost more than I usually spent on a week's worth of meals, but this was special. I'd even bought wine studying labels in the liquor store like they were ancient texts. Dad preferred Cabernet. Mom liked Pinot Grigio. I'd gotten both along with some local craft beer for my friends who were coming. The bottles clinked in my reusable bags as I climbed the 4 flights to my apartment each step, bringing me closer to the moment I'd been imagining for weeks. Saturday morning arrived with brilliant sunshine streaming through my newly cleaned windows. I'd been up since 6, unable to sleep from anticipation. The lasagna preparation became a meditation of sorts. Layer by layer, I built the dish, remembering Sunday dinners at home when Mom would let me help spread the ricotta. Those were the days before Lauren became a culinary expert, before every family meal became a competition I hadn't signed up for. My phone chimed with a notification as I slid the lasagna into the oven. Instagram. Lauren had posted a story. Getting ready for a very special family evening. Can't wait to share the surprise. A cold weight settled in my stomach. I told myself it was nothing. Lauren was always posting cryptic things for attention. She'd probably gotten a new piece of kitchen equipment or was trying another recipe from her favorite celebrity chef. It had nothing to do with my party. My parents had promised. Well, they'd said they'd try. But that was basically the same thing, wasn't it? I forced myself to focus on the final preparations. The small gift table by the door awaited the offerings from friends. I'd arranged the paper lanterns to create a canopy effect over my dining area, which was really just a corner of the main room with a secondhand table I'd painted white. The playlist was ready, a careful mix of jazz and acoustic covers that said, "Sophisticated but approachable." Everything was perfect. At 5:30, I stood back to survey my work. The apartment smelled like home, like comfort, like love. Fresh flowers from the farmer's market brightened every surface. The lasagna bubbled away in the oven, filling the space with the aroma of herbs and cheese. I'd even managed to hide my work papers and laptop, clearing every surface of daily life debris. This was it, my moment. My chance to show my parents that despite choosing a different path than Lauren, I was doing just fine. I had my own place, a good job, friends who cared about me. I didn't need a surgeon husband or a house in the suburbs to be worthy of their attention. My phone buzzed again. Another Instagram notification. I almost didn't check it, but habit won over. My coworker Jessica had tagged me in something. The image loaded slowly, my ancient phone struggling with the app. When it finally appeared, my heart stuttered. It was a shot of the entrance to Lauren's gated community. Jessica's caption read, "Heading to Andrea's housewarming." This traffic is crazy, even taking the back roads through Westchester. Westchester, where Lauren lived. The same Lauren who'd posted about a special family evening. No, I was being paranoid. Lots of people lived in Westchester. The traffic was probably just normal Saturday congestion. My parents were on their way to my apartment, stuck in the same backup that had caught Jessica. They'd walk through my door any minute, apologizing for the delay, admiring my decorations, telling me how proud they were. Any minute now. 6 o'clock arrived with a cheerful knock on my door. My heart leaped as I smoothed down my dress one final time and reached for the handle. But instead of my parents' familiar faces, I found Megan, my best friend since college, standing in the hallway with a potted succulent and a container of homemade chocolate chip cookies. "Happy housewarming, Andrea." She pulled me into a warm hug that smelled like vanilla and possibility. "This place looks absolutely incredible. You've transformed it." I accepted the gifts with genuine pleasure, even as my eyes darted past her to check the empty hallway. "Thanks, Meg. You're right on time. Come in. Let me get you some wine." Tony and Sarah from work arrived minutes later, bearing a nice bottle of red and endless enthusiasm about my decorating skills. They wandered through the small space, examining every detail with the kind of attention that made me remember why I'd valued their friendship. Sarah ran her fingers over the painted table, admiring the smooth finish, while Tony investigated my book collection with the focus of a fellow reader. "This is seriously impressive," Tony said, pulling out a vintage copy of Jane Austen I'd found at an estate sale. "You've made this place feel like a real home. My first apartment was basically a glorified closet with a microwave." By 6:15, a small group had gathered. Everyone seemed genuinely happy to be there, filling my tiny space with warmth and chatter. I served appetizers I'd prepped that morning, little pinwheels and stuffed mushrooms that disappeared quickly amid compliments. Yet my attention kept drifting to my phone, silent on the kitchen counter, and to the door that remained closed against the arrival I most anticipated. "So where are your parents?" Sarah asked innocently, reaching for another mushroom. "I thought you mentioned they were coming." "Oh, they're just running a bit late," I replied, the words flowing automatically. "You know how Saturday traffic can be. They're probably crawling along the highway right now, Dad complaining about all the construction." Megan caught my eye with a look that said she wasn't buying it, but she smoothly changed the subject to a story about her own commute nightmare earlier that week. The conversation flowed around me like a gentle current, while I smiled and nodded and tried not to check the time too obviously. 6:30 came and went. The oven timer chimed, announcing the lasagna was ready. I pulled it out, the cheese perfectly golden and bubbling, the smell even more enticing than I'd imagined. Everyone made appreciative noises, but I hesitated. "Should we wait for your parents?" Tony asked, and I could hear the careful neutrality in his voice. "Let's give them a few more minutes," I said, placing the dish on a trivet to cool. "It needs to set anyway." At 6:45, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I picked up my phone to find a single text from Mom sent 20 minutes earlier. "Running late, sweetie. Traffic is awful. Start without us." The words blurred slightly as I stared at them. Start without us. As if this were just any dinner, not my first housewarming, not the event I'd been planning for weeks. I typed back quickly, "No problem. How far away are you?" The message showed as read immediately, but no response came. 7 o'clock. My friends had settled into comfortable conversation, but I caught the worried glances they exchanged when they thought I wasn't looking. The lasagna sat cooling on the counter, its perfect surface beginning to settle and crack. My carefully curated playlist had cycled through twice already. "You know what, let's eat," I announced with forced brightness. "No point in letting good food go cold. They'll be here when they're here." We gathered around my small table chairs borrowed from neighbors to accommodate everyone. I cut generous portions of lasagna steam, rising from each slice, the layers holding together perfectly. Everyone praised it enthusiastically, and I tried to focus on their enjoyment rather than the 2 empty chairs I'd optimistically included. "This is absolutely restaurant quality," Sarah declared, raising her glass. "To Andrea for creating such a beautiful space and bringing us all together." The toast warmed me even as I felt the hollow space where my parents' voices should have been. We clinked glasses, the sound bright and clear in my small apartment. I took a sip of wine and let it slide down my throat, hoping it would dissolve the lump forming there. Conversation meandered through work gossip and weekend plans. Tony regaled us with stories from his recent trip to Portland, complete with photos of food carts and coffee shops. Sarah debated paint colors for her bedroom renovation, passing her phone around to show different swatches. Normal, pleasant dinner party conversation that I participated in, while part of my mind remained fixed on the door. 7:15. Mom finally texted back, "Something came up. We'll try to stop by later if we can. Don't wait for us. Love you." The words hit like small stones against glass. Something came up. The phrase that had punctuated my childhood, the excuse that covered a multitude of priorities that weren't me. I felt Megan watching my face as I read the message, her expression cycling through understanding and anger on my behalf. "Everything okay?" she asked softly. "Fine," I replied, setting the phone face down. "They'll come by later if they can." The doorbell rang at 7:30, and despite everything, hope fluttered in my chest. Maybe they'd made it after all. Maybe the text had been sent prematurely. I practically flew to the door, wine glass still in hand. Jessica stood in the hallway, fashionably late as always, carrying a bottle of Prosecco and wearing an expression I couldn't quite read. "Sorry I'm so late." She swept in with a cloud of expensive perfume. The traffic was absolutely insane. I had to take this crazy detour through Westchester, and you'll never believe what I saw. My stomach clenched. "Oh!" She was already greeting the others, accepting a glass of wine from Tony, admiring the decorations with theatrical enthusiasm. But I saw the way her eyes kept flicking back to me, carrying some kind of message I wasn't sure I wanted to decode. "What did you see?" Megan asked when Jessica had settled onto the couch with her wine. Jessica took a long sip before answering, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the glass. "Well, it's probably nothing, but I could have sworn I saw Andrea's parents' car at that fancy gated community off Maple Avenue. You know where your sister lives." The room seemed to contract around me. Everyone fell silent, the kind of quiet that happens when people realize they're witnessing something deeply personal and painful. I forced myself to breathe normally to keep my expression neutral, even as my mind raced. "Lots of silver Camrys in Westchester," I said lightly. "Probably just looked similar." "Maybe," Jessica agreed, but her eyes said otherwise. It's just I noticed because of the bumper sticker. Doesn't your dad have that one about fly fishing? He did. A silly thing I'd bought him for Father's Day 3 years ago. I'd rather be fly fishing. He'd laughed when he opened it, promising to put it on his car immediately. It was probably the last gift from me he'd shown such enthusiasm for. Could be a coincidence, Tony offered diplomatically, but even he sounded unconvinced. My phone buzzed. Instagram notification. My hand moved to check it before my brain could issue a warning to stop. Lauren had updated her story. The image loaded in high-definition clarity, my parents sitting at Lauren's dining room table, the one made from reclaimed barnwood that cost more than I made in 2 months. Dad was indeed carving what looked like prime rib, his face animated in laughter at something off camera. Mom held her wine glass aloft in a toast, her smile radiant in a way I hadn't seen directed at me in years. The caption drove the final nail. Best surprise dinner ever, so blessed to have family who drops everything to celebrate with us. Drops everything. Like my housewarming was just a thing to be dropped, an obligation to be shed in favor of better plans. The phone slipped from my numb fingers, saved from hitting the floor only by Megan's quick reflexes. She looked at the screen and I watched her expression harden. Without a word, she handed the phone to Sarah, who passed it to Tony, creating a chain of witness to my humiliation. When it finally made its way back to me, Jessica was the one to break the silence. "Andrea, I'm so sorry. That's really messed up." I stood there in my carefully decorated apartment, surrounded by friends who'd actually shown up holding evidence that the 2 people I'd most wanted to impress had chosen elsewhere. The lasagna sat on the counter, still 3/4 full because I'd made enough for extra guests who were never coming. The paper lanterns swayed gently in the air from the open window, mocking me with their cheerful colors. This was supposed to be my moment, my chance to prove I'd made it, that my life had value, even if it didn't look like Lauren's. Instead, I was 28 years old, standing in a studio apartment, facing the truth that I'd always suspected but never wanted to confirm. Given the choice, my parents would choose Lauren every single time. "Well," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded, "at least now we know what something coming up meant." The silence that followed my words stretched like taffy, sticky and uncomfortable. My friends exchanged glances filled with sympathy and secondhand outrage. Megan was the first to move, crossing the small space to wrap her arm around my shoulders. "Do you want to call them?" she asked gently. "Maybe there's an explanation." I almost laughed. There was always an explanation, a reason why Lauren's life took precedence. Her husband's promotion, her son's first words, her new kitchen renovation, all valid reasons to celebrate, while my milestones got relegated to afterthoughts, squeezed in between real priorities. "I'll try Dad," I said, needing to do something with the nervous energy coursing through me. His phone rang once, twice, then went to voicemail. His jovial recorded message felt like salt in an open wound. "Hi, Dad, just wondering if you and Mom are still planning to stop by. Let me know." My thumb hovered over Mom's contact. Tony quietly began clearing plates, giving me the illusion of privacy in the open floor plan. Sarah joined him, while Jessica and Megan stayed close, a protective semicircle of support. Mom's phone rang 4 times before she answered background noise, confirming what I already knew. "Andrea, sweetie, how's your little party going?" Little party. The diminutive stung more than I expected. "It's going well. My friends are here. Are you and Dad still planning to come?" "Oh, honey, something came up at the last minute. Lauren needed us for a family emergency." "What kind of emergency?" I kept my voice level, though my free hand clenched into a fist. I heard muffled conversation, Mom's hand probably over the phone. "Well, it's complicated. You know how these things are. We'll definitely stop by later if we can. Did you get my text? I sent a text." "You did? It said something came up. That's not really an explanation, Mom." More muffled conversation. Lauren's laugh rang out clearly in the background, bright and carefree. Not the laugh of someone dealing with an emergency. "Andrea, don't be difficult. Family has to come first. We'll see you soon, okay? I have to go." The line went dead before I could respond. Family has to come first. Apparently I didn't qualify for that category anymore. Or maybe I never had. What did she say? Megan asked. Family emergency. I replied air quoting with enough sarcasm to strip paint. The kind where everyone's laughing and toasting. Jessica cleared her throat. Okay, this is probably terrible timing, but my cousin Emma just texted me. She's asking why you're not at Lauren's family reunion. Apparently everyone was invited. The words hit like physical blows. Family, reunion, everyone. The math was simple and cruel. Let me see, I said, holding out my hand for Jessica's phone. Emma's text was cheerfully oblivious. Is Andrea coming later? Lauren said the whole family would be here for the big announcement. BTW, love your dress in the pics. Big announcement, of course. Lauren always had announcements. Probably pregnant again, or maybe her husband had made partner at the hospital. Something worth celebrating, unlike their younger daughter's first home. I need some air, I said, moving toward the window. You need more wine, Sarah corrected, already pouring, and possibly some rage screaming into a pillow. I can drive you to Lauren's if you want. Megan offered, her voice carrying an edge that suggested she'd enjoy the confrontation. We could crash their party, make a scene. I'll be your backup. The offer was tempting. I pictured walking into Lauren's perfect house past the professional landscaping and through the mahogany door finding my family gathered around her table, forced to acknowledge what they'd done. But that would just confirm their narrative of me as the difficult one, the dramatic one who couldn't let things go. No, I decided. They made their choice. Let them have their reunion without me. Tony returned from the kitchen area, having quietly finished cleaning up. For what it's worth, Andrea, this place is amazing. You've created something really special here. Their loss if they can't see that. The others murmured agreement, and I felt a wave of gratitude for these people who'd actually shown up. But it couldn't quite fill the hollow space where my parents' approval should have lived. My phone buzzed with another Instagram notification. Lauren had posted a full photo now, not just a story. The entire extended family gathered in her dining room. Cousins and aunts and uncles I hadn't seen in months. The table groaned under the weight of catered food. Professional photographers seemed to be present based on the quality and lighting. The caption read, "Blessed beyond measure to announce baby number 2, with all our loved ones here to celebrate nothing matters more than family." Pregnant. I'd guessed right. And they'd turned it into an event complete with what looked like custom decorations and a cake shaped like a stork, the kind of production that took weeks to plan, weeks during which my parents had assured me they'd come to my housewarming. "Oh, she's pregnant again," Sarah observed, reading over my shoulder. "That's nice, I guess." "Look at the date on the invitation in the background," Jessica pointed out, zooming in on the image. There it was, partially visible on the sideboard, a printed invitation with today's date, and "Lauren and Marcus request your presence at a special family gathering," in elegant script. This hadn't been spontaneous. It hadn't been an emergency. It had been planned, scheduled, and I'd been deliberately excluded. "I'm going to check something," I said, pulling up my email. It didn't take long to find what I suspected might be there. 3 weeks ago, buried between work messages and promotional emails, a message from Mom with the subject line, "Saturday plans." I opened it with trembling fingers. "Hi, sweetie. Just wanted to confirm we're planning to come to your housewarming on the 15th. Looking forward to seeing your new place. Dad and I wouldn't miss it. Love, Mom." The 15th. Today. She'd known. She'd explicitly promised. And somewhere between that email and tonight, I'd been erased from the schedule in favor of Lauren's announcement. "What is it?" Megan asked, noting my expression. I showed them the email. Tony whistled low. Sarah muttered something unrepeatable. Jessica poured more wine all around. "So they straight up lied," Megan summarized. "They knew about both events and chose Lauren's, then lied about it being last minute." The truth sat heavy in my chest. This wasn't miscommunication or double booking or even favoritism. This was deliberate deception. They'd known I'd been planning this for weeks, known how much it meant to me, and decided I wasn't worth the truth. My cousin Emma called then, her name flashing on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Andrea, where are you? Her voice was slightly slurred, suggesting the wine had been flowing freely at Lauren's. Your sister said you couldn't make it because of work or something, but I saw your housewarming posts. Are you having 2 parties? No, Emma, just the one. The one I wasn't invited to is happening at Lauren's. Silence. Then, wait, what? But this is a family thing. How were you not invited? Excellent question. Why don't you ask my parents? They're there after all. The ones who promised to come to my housewarming but somehow forgot to mention they'd be at Lauren's instead. Oh my God, Emma's voice dropped. Andrea, I had no idea. Lauren said you knew about it but chose your other thing instead. That's what she told everyone. Of course she had. Lauren never missed an opportunity to paint me as the one who prioritized career over family. The ambitious sister who was too busy for family gatherings, too focused on her own life to participate in theirs. Well, now you know the truth, I said tiredly. Enjoy the party, Emma. This is messed up. I'm going to say something. Please don't. It'll just cause drama and somehow become my fault. Just enjoy the free food and remember this conversation the next time Lauren spins a story about me. I ended the call and looked around my apartment. My friends had quietly continued cleaning up, giving me space to process. The lasagna sat covered on the stove. The paper lanterns still swayed cheerfully. Everything exactly as I'd planned, except for the 2 people whose approval I'd apparently never stopped seeking. You know what? I said, squaring my shoulders. Their loss. We have wine, we have lasagna, and we have better company than I would have had anyway. Let's actually enjoy this party. Sarah raised her glass. To Andrea, who's worth 100 family reunions. We toasted, and I tried to mean it when I smiled. But as the evening wore on and my phone stayed silent, I couldn't shake the image of my parents at Lauren's table, celebrating another milestone in her perfect life, while mine went unacknowledged. At least now I knew where I stood. The question was what to do with that knowledge. As my friends settled back into comfortable conversation, trying to restore normalcy to the evening, my mind drifted to decades of similar moments. The pattern was so clear in hindsight, like looking at one of those magic eye pictures that suddenly snaps into focus. It had started early, though I'd been too young to recognize it then. Lauren was 5 years older, the planned child, the one they'd tried for 3 years to conceive. I'd come along accidentally, Mom often joked, just when they'd given up and bought a puppy instead. We were going to name the dog Andrea, she'd say at parties, always getting a laugh. Lauren had been the golden child from day one. Perfect grades came effortlessly to her while I struggled with dyslexia that went undiagnosed until 4th grade. By then I'd already been labeled the problem child, who couldn't sit still, couldn't focus, couldn't be more like her sister. Remember when you won that science fair? Megan asked, pulling me from my reverie. She'd been around long enough to know the family dynamics. Didn't you get like 2nd in state? 3rd, I corrected. Mom couldn't come to the ceremony because Lauren had a violin recital the same day. Dad recorded it on his phone, but he was watching Lauren's performance live stream at the same time, so half the video is just his pocket. Tony looked appalled. That's awful. That's nothing. I continued the wine-loosening years of carefully suppressed memories. When I graduated magna cum laude from college, they almost missed it because Lauren's husband was receiving some medical award. They made it just in time but spent my graduation dinner talking about Marcus's achievements. The memories flowed like water through a broken dam. Every birthday overshadowed by Lauren's accomplishments. Every achievement diminished by comparison. When I'd landed my first real marketing job, the family dinner celebrating it turned into planning for Lauren's wedding. When I'd won a major campaign award at work, it got a brief, "That's nice, dear," before Mom launched into updates about Lauren's pregnancy. The thing is, I said, refilling my glass, I kept trying. I thought if I just achieved enough, succeeded enough, became enough, they'd finally see me. But there's no enough when you're competing with perfection. Sarah leaned forward. But you're not competing. You're just living your life. Try telling them that. When Lauren married a surgeon, Mom asked when I was going to settle down with someone substantial. When they bought their house, Dad wanted to know why I was throwing money away on rent instead of investing in my future. Every choice I made was held up against Lauren's and found wanting. The Christmas dinners were the worst. We'd go around the table sharing our year's accomplishments, a family tradition Dad insisted on. Lauren's list would include charity galas, Marcus's promotions, their son's developmental milestones, their renovations, their investments. When my turn came, my promotion to senior account manager was met with polite smiles and, "That's nice, dear," before Mom would ask if I was seeing anyone special. Last Thanksgiving. I continued. I told them about landing the Morrison Industries account. It was huge for our firm, a multi-million-dollar contract I'd pitched solo. Dad's response. "Speaking of industries, did Lauren tell you Marcus is consulting for 3 Fortune 500 companies now?" Jessica shook her head. "That's so invalidating." The worst part is they don't even realize they're doing it. In their minds, they love us both equally. They just happen to visit Lauren every weekend while I get quarterly dinners squeezed in between their real plans. They just happen to know every detail of Lauren's life while forgetting what I do for a living. I pulled up my phone's photo gallery, scrolling back through years of pictures. Look at this. Mom's birthday 2 years ago. I planned a surprise party coordinated with all her friends, made her favorite cake from scratch. But look who's in the center of every photo. Lauren radiant as always, holding court while I hovered at the edges, literally and figuratively pushed to the margins of my own event. Oh, and here's a good one. I continued finding a screenshot I'd saved. The family group text when I got promoted to director. My announcement got 3 responses. Lauren's new car announcement the next day, 47 messages, and a planned family viewing party. Megan took my phone gently. Okay, that's enough pain scrolling for tonight. But I wasn't done. The floodgates were open now. You know what really gets me the gaslighting? Whenever I tried to bring it up, I was being too sensitive or keeping score or creating competition where none exists. Mom would say things like, "We love you both differently, but equally," which sounds nice until you realize differently means they show up for Lauren and send me apology texts. The apartment felt smaller, suddenly weighted with years of accumulated slights. I stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights below. Somewhere across town, my family was celebrating without me. Again. I used to make excuses for them, I said quietly. Lauren's older, she gave them grandchildren, she followed the traditional path they understood. But I'm 28 years old. At some point, I have to accept that it's not about what I achieve or don't achieve. They've chosen their favorite, and it's not me. Their loss, Tony said firmly. I mean it, Andrea. You're brilliant, creative, successful, and you managed to make a shoebox apartment feel like a home. If they can't see that it's their failure, not yours. I smiled weakly at him. I know that logically, but logic doesn't stop it from hurting. My phone buzzed with another notification. Against my better judgment, I looked. Mom had posted in the family group chat, "Wonderful evening with the family, so blessed to have everyone together." Everyone. The words stared back at me, a casual erasure of my existence. I wasn't even a footnote in their perfect family narrative anymore. I found the email where I told Mom about the housewarming. I said, pulling up my sent folder. Look, I sent it 6 weeks ago. She responded saying she was putting it on their calendar immediately. Then 3 weeks ago, she confirmed they'd be here. But look at this. I'd done some detective work in Lauren's social media. Lauren posted about planning her announcement party 5 weeks ago, so they knew. They knew when they confirmed with me that they'd already committed to Lauren's event. That's intentional cruelty, Sarah said bluntly. That's not favoritism, that's just mean. The truth of it sat heavy in the room. They could have told me, could have suggested a different date, could have at least had the decency to be honest about their choice. Instead, they'd strung me along, letting me plan and cook and hope, while knowing they'd never show up. The really pathetic part. I laughed bitterly. I would have rescheduled if they'd asked. I would have moved my entire housewarming to accommodate Lauren's party, just for the chance to have them here. That's how desperate I was for their approval. Megan moved to stand beside me at the window. You know what the difference is between you and Lauren. You made it on your own. No trust fund, no connections from Marcus, no parents smoothing the way. Everything you have, you earned. Lot of good it does me, I muttered. Andrea. Her voice was serious now. I need you to hear this. Their inability to see your worth doesn't diminish it. You don't need their validation to be valuable. I wanted to believe her, but 28 years of conditioning was hard to overcome. Some part of me would always be the little girl watching her parents' car drive away toward Lauren's recital, leaving me behind with a babysitter and promises they'd make it up to me later. They never did. The doorbell rang at 9:30 just as my friends were debating whether to open another bottle of wine. We'd moved past the heaviest emotions into that strange territory where hurt transforms into dark humor trading stories of family dysfunction like battle scars. If that's my parents finally showing up, I'm not answering, I announced, making no move toward the door. Want me to get it? Tony offered. I can pretend you're not here, or that you've moved to Antarctica. The bell rang again, followed by a distinctive knocking pattern. 2 quick, 3 slow, 2 quick. My heart jumped. That's Grandma Dorothy's knock, I said, already moving. But she lives in Connecticut. What's she doing here at this hour, so... I yanked open the door to find my 82-year-old grandmother standing in the hallway designer purse, over one arm ancient shoebox under the other. Her silver hair was perfectly coiffed despite the late hour, and her eyes sparked with an energy that belied her age. Grandma, what are you doing here? How did you even get here? Uber, she said crisply, as if octogenarians taking ride shares across state lines at night was perfectly normal. Lovely young man. Practiced my Spanish the whole way. Now are you going to invite me in, or shall we have this conversation in the hallway? I stepped aside, still processing her sudden appearance. My friends rose as she entered that automatic respect her generation commanded. She surveyed the apartment with sharp eyes, taking in the decorations, the remnants of dinner, the wine bottles, and the forced cheer on everyone's faces. Introductions can wait, she announced, setting her purse down with authority. First, Andrea, why do you look like someone killed your puppy? I'm fine, Grandma. Just surprised to see you. I thought you were at Lauren's party. Her expression darkened. Is that what they told you, that I was there? No, I just assumed. It's a family reunion. Lauren's announcing her pregnancy. Everyone's there. Not everyone, Grandma Dorothy said pointedly. I received my invitation 3 weeks ago. Fancy thing probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. But I noticed something interesting. Your name wasn't on it. The room went quiet. Megan gestured for Grandma to take her seat on the couch, which she did with surprising grace for someone who'd just traveled from Connecticut. I called your mother. Grandma continued accepting the glass of water Sarah quickly provided. Asked why my granddaughter wasn't invited to a family event. Do you know what she said? I shook my head, sinking onto the couch beside her. She said you were having some little work thing and probably couldn't make it anyway. A work thing, on a Saturday night. Her voice carried decades of disappointment. I've lived through the Depression, a world war, and 7 decades of marriage to your grandfather. I know horse manure when I smell it. Tony tried to suppress a laugh and failed. Grandma Dorothy shot him an approving look. So I asked around, she continued. Called Emma, bless her heart. She's not the brightest bulb, but she's honest. Told me all about your housewarming party that you'd been planning for weeks, the one your parents promised to attend. Grandma, it's okay, really. They had a conflict. Balderdash, she waved dismissively. They had a choice, and they made it, just like they've been making it for 28 years. She paused, studying my face with those penetrating blue eyes that seemed to see through every brave front I'd ever constructed. I chose too, she said quietly. Between their staged announcement party and my granddaughter's first real home. Wasn't even close. My eyes burned with sudden tears. You came all this way just for my housewarming. Of course I did, though I must say the invitation could have been clearer. I had to get your address from that nice boy at your office. I didn't think... Mom said she'd tell you about it. Like she told me about your promotion last year, or your award, or that lovely young man you dated who she never bothered to meet. Grandma patted my hand. I may be old, Andrea, but I'm not blind. I see what goes on. Jessica leaned forward, clearly fascinated. Mrs. Dorothy, what's in the box? Grandma's expression shifted, becoming almost sly. Patience, dear. First, I want to enjoy this party. Andrea, is that your famous lasagna I smell? The one with the secret ingredient your great-grandmother taught you. You remember that? I remember everything important, unlike some people who forget which daughter exists when the other one snaps her fingers. We spent the next half hour in surprisingly comfortable conversation. Grandma Dorothy charmed everyone with stories from her youth tales of sneaking out to dance halls and lying about her age to join the Women's Army Corps. She asked each of my friends about themselves with genuine interest, remembering details and asking follow-up questions that showed she was truly listening. You've chosen good people, she told me as Sarah recounted her path to graphic design. That's a gift, you know. Being able to recognize quality in others. Not everyone can do that. The shoebox sat beside her, unopened, but somehow commanding attention, like Chekhov's gun waiting to go off. Every time someone's eyes drifted toward it, Grandma would smile mysteriously and change the subject. Now then, she finally said, setting down her empty plate. I suppose you're all wondering about this old thing. The suspense is killing me, Megan admitted. Grandma's fingers traced the faded corners of the box. This has been in my closet for 40 years, waiting for the right moment. I thought perhaps I'd leave it for after I'm gone, but recent events have convinced me otherwise. She turned to me. Andrea, do you know why I live in that brownstone in Brooklyn? Because you and Grandpa bought it when you got married. Half right, we bought it, yes, but it wasn't for us. It was an investment property. We lived in Queens in a little apartment not much bigger than this. The brownstone was supposed to be our retirement fund. This was news to me. But you've lived there since before I was born. Since your father was in college, actually. We moved in temporarily when Grandpa got sick, easier to manage one property than two. Then he passed and I just stayed. Couldn't bear to sell it. Too many memories by then. She opened the box, carefully revealing a stack of yellowed papers and old photographs. Your parents don't know this, she continued, but I've been documenting things. Call it an old woman's hobby. She pulled out the first document, the original deed to the brownstone. My eyes widened as I recognized the address. That property had to be worth millions in today's market. Lauren lives there now, I said slowly. You've been letting her family stay rent-free for 3 years. At your parents' insistence. Family helping family, they said, just until Marcus got established. Her tone suggested what she thought of that arrangement. 3 years of temporary that keeps extending. The next item was a handwritten will dated just last month. Grandma handed it to me without ceremony. I scanned it quickly, then read it again, certain I'd misunderstood. Grandma, this says. This leaves everything to me. The brownstone, the investments, all of it. About $3.2 million in total assets, she said casually as if discussing grocery money, give or take market fluctuations. The room erupted in gasps. I stared at the paper, then at her, unable to form words. But Lauren, Mom and Dad, get nothing. Her voice was firm. Oh, there are some small bequests, sentimental items, but the bulk, that's yours. I don't understand why. She pulled out the photographs, then spreading them across the coffee table. Pictures I'd never seen. Me at 8 helping her plant roses. At 12 spending my spring break caring for her after foot surgery while Lauren went to Cabo. At 16, the only grandchild who remembered her birthday without prompting. At 22, visiting every Sunday while in college, even though it meant 2 hours on the subway. These, she said, pulling out a manila folder, are every card, letter, and email you've sent me over the years, organized by date. And these, another folder, are Lauren's. Notice the difference. My folder was thick with correspondence. Lauren's held perhaps a dozen generic holiday cards, most clearly written by Marcus. But it's not about quantity, Grandma continued. It's about character. You visit because you want to, not because you need something. You remember my doctor's appointments. You call just to chat. You treat me like a person, not a bank account or a free babysitter. Lauren's always been busy, I said weakly, some ingrained loyalty still defending my sister. Lauren's been plenty free to visit when she needs a loan or someone to watch her son. Grandma's voice turned steely. Did you know she and your parents have been pressuring me to sign power of attorney papers for my own good, they say, so they can help manage things? My blood chilled. What? Oh yes, started about 6 months ago. Subtle at first. Comments about my age, my memory, suggestions that managing property is too much stress. Then Marcus started leaving brochures for lovely retirement communities around the house. Tony whistled low. They're trying to force you into a nursing home. To free up the brownstone, I suspect. Lauren's mentioned several times how much renovations would cost if only they owned the place outright. Your parents support the idea, of course. They think I don't know about their little family meetings where they discuss my declining capacity. That's elder abuse, Sarah said flatly. My mom's a social worker. What they're describing is literally elder abuse. Grandma smiled grimly, which is why I've taken precautions. She pulled out the final document. Meet my new power of attorney and healthcare proxy, Andrea. I nearly dropped the paper. Grandma, I don't know anything about... You know how to treat people with dignity. That's all I need. She gathered the papers back into the box. There's more. Bank account information, investment portfolios, contact information for my lawyer. But that can wait. Why now? I asked. Why tonight? Her expression softened. Because I overheard something at Lauren's party invitation planning. Yes, I was invited to that meeting, though conveniently not to yours. Your mother was explaining to Lauren why they couldn't invite you, said it would be awkward having both daughters there when one was so clearly thriving while the other was still finding herself. Still finding myself, I repeated incredulously. I have a career, an apartment, a life, which apparently pales in comparison to suburban motherhood. Grandma's voice dripped disdain. But the real kicker, Lauren laughed and said, well, at least this way we don't have to pretend to be interested in her little marketing stories. The words hit like a physical blow. Megan grabbed my hand, squeezing tight. Your father, Grandma continued relentlessly, added that it was probably for the best, that you'd feel out of place among their friends anyway. Wrong social circle, he said. Each word was another nail in the coffin of my relationship with them. Not just forgotten or overlooked, but actively excluded and mocked. So yes, Grandma concluded, I chose your housewarming because you, my dear, are worth 1,000 of their shallow parties, and it's time someone in this family recognized that. We sat in silence for a moment, absorbing everything. Then Jessica, bless her, raised her glass. To Grandma Dorothy, she said solemnly, the only family member with functioning eyesight and a moral compass. Hear, hear, the others chorused. Grandma clinked her water glass against theirs, then turned to me. Now show me this apartment properly. I want to see everything you've done with the place, and then we'll discuss where I'm sleeping tonight because I'm certainly not going back to that brownstone where your sister's probably already planning my wake. As I stood to give her the tour, my phone buzzed. Lauren's name appeared on the screen. I showed it to Grandma, who smiled wickedly. Oh, this should be good. Answer it, dear. Put it on speaker. Let's see what story they've concocted to explain my absence. My hand trembled slightly as I accepted the call, but for the first time all evening, it wasn't from hurt or anxiety. It was from anticipation. Andrea! Lauren's voice burst through the speaker, pitched high with barely controlled panic. Is Grandma there? Please tell me Grandma's there. I kept my voice neutral, though Grandma's gleeful expression nearly broke my composure. Why would Grandma be here, Lauren? She was invited to your party. Wasn't she? She never showed up. We've been calling her house for 2 hours. Mom's freaking out. Dad's about to call the police. Her neighbor said she saw her get into a car with a suitcase. How concerning, I said mildly. I hope she's okay. Grandma mimed, zipping her lips, clearly enjoying the drama. This isn't funny, Andrea. She's 82 years old. She could be wandering somewhere confused. You know how she's been lately. How has she been lately? I asked, edge creeping into my voice. I wouldn't know since I haven't been included in any family discussions about her. This isn't the time for your victim complex, Lauren snapped. Just, have you heard from her or not? I looked at Grandma, who nodded permission. She's here. She's safe. She chose to come to my housewarming. The silence stretched so long I checked to make sure the call hadn't dropped. When Lauren spoke again, her voice was dangerously low. Put her on. She doesn't want to talk right now, I said, following Grandma's hand gestures. She's tired from the journey. The journey, Andrea. What did you do? Did you guilt-trip an old woman into choosing your little party over a family event? Interesting perspective from someone who didn't even invite me to said family event. You know why that was. You would have made it all about you like you always do. Poor Andrea, not married, no kids, just her sad little apartment and her meaningless job. The mask finally slipped. There it was, the truth behind all the polite excuses and false concern. My friends' faces ranged from shocked to furious. Tony actually started to stand before Sarah pulled him back down. Meaningless job, I repeated. The job that pays for the gifts I send your son. The job that covered Mom's car repair last year when Dad's pension fell short. Money isn't everything, Andrea. Family is. Not that you'd understand since you've chosen career over having a real life. Lauren, I said quietly, I'm going to hang up now. Tell Mom and Dad that Grandma is safe and we'll contact them when she's ready. Good night. Don't you dare hang up on me. We need to discuss this situation with Grandma. Her living arrangements, her assets, her clearly declining judgment if she's choosing you over her real family. Grandma finally had enough. She gestured for the phone and I handed it over. Lauren, dear, she said sweetly, this is your grandmother. The one you were so worried about. I'm perfectly fine. My judgment is crystal clear. And if you ever refer to my living arrangements or assets again, you'll find out just how clear it is. Now go back to your party and leave Andrea alone. She hung up with satisfaction, then turned to me. That felt wonderful. Now where were we? Ah, yes, the tour. But the phone immediately rang again. This time it was Mom. I almost didn't answer, but Grandma nodded encouragingly. Andrea Marie Thompson. Mom's voice could have stripped paint. What have you done? How dare you kidnap your grandmother? Kidnap. I laughed, actually laughed. She took an Uber, Mom, of her own free will, to the party you were supposed to attend. Don't start with that. We explained that something came up. Yes, Lauren's planned for 5 weeks announcement party, the one you forgot to mention when confirming you'd be at my housewarming. We don't owe you explanations for our schedule, Andrea. We're adults with complicated lives. So am I, Mom, an adult whose housewarming you promised to attend, then lied about. We didn't lie. We fully intended to come until the situation changed. Grandma made a disgusted noise. I put the phone on speaker so everyone could hear. The situation being Lauren needed an audience for her pregnancy announcement. Family supports family, Andrea. Someday when you have children, you'll understand the importance of these moments. But my moments don't count. My first home isn't worth celebrating. Oh, please, it's a studio apartment. Lauren's having her second child. There's no comparison. And there it was. The ranking system laid bare. My achievements would never measure up because they weren't the right kind. No wedding, no babies, no suburban house meant no value in their eyes. You're right, I said calmly. There's no comparison. Lauren gets your automatic support while I get leftovers. If that, message received loud and clear. Now you're being dramatic. We love you both equally. Really? When's the last time you visited me, Mom? When's the last time you came to my place? My work events? Anything in my life without Lauren being involved? Silence. That's what I thought. Grandma's staying here tonight. Don't call again. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness this time. It was pure, clean anger, the kind that clarifies rather than clouds. "Well done," Grandma said approvingly. "Now shall we continue with the box? I believe there's more to show you." She pulled out additional documents, bank statements showing regular transfers from my checking to my parents' account over the past 3 years. Loans I'd given that were never mentioned again. Tickets I'd bought for family events where I'd been an afterthought. The money I'd spent trying to buy my way into their affection. "This is why you live so frugally," Megan observed, looking at the numbers. "You've been supplementing your parents' lifestyle." "They've had some hard times." I started to defend, but Grandma cut me off. "They've had Lauren's husband's financial advice, which amounts to living beyond their means, expecting inheritances to cover the gap." She pulled out more papers, specifically my inheritance. "Look at this." It was an email printout between my parents and Lauren discussing how to approach Grandma about power of attorney. The language was careful, but the intent clear. They needed access to her assets to solve their financial problems. The retirement community they picked out, Grandma showed another brochure, costs $2,000 a month. Conveniently renting out the brownstone would net them $15,000 a month after expenses. Guess where the extra would go? I couldn't find words. "Criminal," Tony suggested. "Definitely unethical." Grandma wasn't done. The box seemed bottomless, each document another revelation. Photographs of every birthday Lauren's family had celebrated at the brownstone while I wasn't invited. Screenshots of family group texts I'd been excluded from. A family tree Lauren had made for her son with my branch conspicuously absent. "But this," Grandma said, pulling out a final envelope, "this is why I'm doing all of this tonight." Inside was a letter from a nursing home. Not a brochure, but an actual intake form, partially filled out, with Grandma's information. "They were going to commit you," Sarah gasped. "Next month, apparently. After Marcus's evaluation of my mental state. Did I mention he's not a psychiatrist? He's an orthopedic surgeon. But they figured any doctor would do for their purposes." My anger transformed into something colder, harder. "They were planning to steal from you, to lock you away and take everything," while telling themselves it was for my own good, no doubt. Grandma's voice was steady, but I saw the hurt beneath. "Your parents aren't evil, Andrea. They're weak. And weakness can be just as destructive as malice when it comes to family." She began putting everything back in the box with careful precision. "The lawyer has copies of everything, of course. New will is filed. Power of attorney is official. They can scheme all they want now." "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked. "Because you would have tried to fix it, to mediate, to make peace. That's who you are always trying to earn love that should be freely given. But tonight, when I saw them choose Lauren's party over your achievement yet again, I knew it was time." My phone buzzed with text after text. I glanced at the screen. "Dad, this is unacceptable. Bring Grandma home immediately." "Lauren, you've poisoned her against us. Happy now." "Mom, we're coming over there." Unknown number. "Hey, this is Marcus. Let's discuss this like adults. There's been a misunderstanding about Grandma's care." "They're panicking," Jessica observed, reading over my shoulder. "Good," Grandma said firmly. "Let them feel what it's like to be excluded from family decisions. See how they enjoy being on the outside for once." Megan held up Mom's last text. "Should we be worried about them showing up?" "The building has a security door," I said. "They don't have the code." "And if they did," Grandma added with a wicked smile, "I have a restraining order form in my purse. My lawyer drew it up just in case. Amazing what you can accomplish when you have a good attorney and documented elder abuse attempts." We all stared at her in amazement. This wasn't the gentle grandmother who baked cookies and knitted scarves. This was a strategist who'd been planning her campaign for months. "Grandma," I said slowly, "you're kind of terrifying." "Thank you, dear. I'll take that as a compliment. Now I believe I was promised a tour of this lovely home." As I showed her around my tiny space, pointing out the changes I'd made and the small touches that made it mine, I felt something shifting inside me. The desperate need for my parents' approval was still there, might always be there. But it was quieter now, overshadowed by the reality of Grandma's faith in me. "The bathroom's through here," I said, showing her the cramped but clean space. "I know it's small." "It's yours," she interrupted. "That's all that matters. You've made something from nothing, Andrea. That's a gift your sister never developed, cushioned as she's been by other people's money." My phone rang again, an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Andrea." Emma's voice slurred from wine. "What the hell happened? Your parents just stormed out. Lauren's crying. The party's ruined. Aunt Marie is demanding to know why you weren't invited in the first place." "The truth came out," I said simply. "That's all." "But it's more than that, isn't it? Grandma chose you. She actually chose you over them." She paused. "Good for her and good for you. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner about how they treat you." "Thanks, Emma. For what it's worth, I think your apartment looks amazing in the pictures. Maybe I could come see it sometime, without the rest of them." "I'd like that." After hanging up, I found Grandma had made herself comfortable on my couch shoes, off looking more relaxed than I'd seen her in years. "So," she said, patting the seat beside her, "tell me about your plans. Your real plans, not the watered-down version you share at family dinners." For the next hour, I talked about my career goals, my hope to start my own agency someday, my dreams of travel and growth and possibility. She listened with genuine interest, asking questions that showed she understood and valued my ambitions. "That's my girl," she said when I finished. "Now let's discuss practicalities. The brownstone will be yours, but not immediately. I plan to stick around for a while yet. However, I want to set up a trust to help you with a down payment on a real home now, somewhere with enough room for when I come visit." "Grandma, I can't accept." "You can and you will. Consider it back payment for all the emotional labor you've done keeping this family functional. Or better yet, consider it an investment in the only family member who sees me as a person rather than a piggy bank." My friends had gradually gotten ready to leave, sensing this was becoming a private family moment. Each hugged me goodbye, whispering support and congratulations. Megan was last promising to check in tomorrow. As the door closed behind them, I turned to find Grandma watching me with knowing eyes. "You've built something here," she said quietly. "Not just the apartment. A life. Real friendships. People who show up for you. That's worth more than any fancy house in Westchester. Then why does their rejection still hurt so much?" She pulled me into a hug that smelled of lavender and wisdom. "Because you're human, dear, and humans need their families. But sometimes we have to create our own when the one we're born into fails us." As we sat together in my little apartment, the city lights twinkling outside my phone, silent for the first time all evening, I thought about chosen families and birthrights, and the unexpected gift of being seen clearly by at least one person who mattered. Tomorrow would bring more drama, more calls, more attempts to regain control. But tonight I was home, and for the first time, that felt like enough. The peace lasted exactly 43 minutes. I just finished setting up the pull-out couch for Grandma when my phone lit up with notifications. Instagram first. I opened it to find Lauren had been busy. She'd posted a series of photos from her party, each carefully curated to show the perfect family gathering. But it was the final post that made my blood run cold. A photo of Grandma's empty chair at the dinner table. The caption, "When family members manipulate our elderly loved ones for financial gain, it breaks our hearts. Praying Grandma Dorothy sees through the deception before it's too late." The comments were already pouring in. Lauren's friends expressing shock and sympathy, relatives asking what happened, and then buried among them a comment from our mutual acquaintance. "Isn't this about Andrea's housewarming? Why wasn't she invited to the family party?" Lauren had deleted that comment within minutes, but screenshots were already circulating. The internet had receipts. "What is you frowning at your phone?" Grandma asked, emerging from the bathroom in the spare pajamas I'd found for her. I showed her the post. Her expression went from amused to furious in seconds. That manipulative little... She caught herself. "Give me your phone, dear. It's time I joined the modern age." "Grandma, you don't have to..." "Nonsense. If they want to play this game publicly, they'll learn I still have some moves." I watched in fascination as she hunted and pecked her way through a response. "This is Grandma Dorothy. I'm of sound mind and clear conscience. I chose to attend Andrea's housewarming because she actually wanted my company, not my checkbook. The only manipulation here is from those trying to put me in a home to access my property, posted by GD herself." "There," she said with satisfaction. "Now help me share this on my own page. I may be old, but I'm not dead yet." Within minutes, her comment had more likes than Lauren's original post. Family members started choosing sides, and the dirty laundry was airing spectacularly. My doorbell rang at 10:45. The security camera showed Lauren standing in the lobby. Her perfect party dress wrinkled her mascara slightly smudged. She was alone. "Don't let her up," Grandma advised. "Nothing good comes from late-night confrontations." But I was done hiding. "I'll meet her in the lobby. Keep the chain on the door just in case." I took the elevator down, my heart hammering, but my resolve steady. Lauren was pacing by the mailboxes when I arrived, her heels clicking on the worn tile. "Andrea," she whirled to face me. "What have you done?" "Be more specific." "I've done a lot tonight. Hosted a party, served lasagna, caught up with Grandma." "This isn't funny. You've turned her against us. Filled her head with lies." "What lies would those be? That you've been planning to put her in a home? That you've been living rent-free in her $1 million property while scheming to take the rest?" "Oh, wait. Those are facts." Lauren's face cycled through several expressions before settling on wounded innocence. "We're concerned about her welfare. She's getting older, more forgetful. The brownstone is too much for her to manage." "So you decided to manage it for her. How charitable." "You don't understand. Marcus and I have expenses. Private school for James, the new baby coming. Mom and Dad have their own financial struggles. The brownstone is just sitting there worth a fortune while we're all struggling." "I'm not struggling," I pointed out. "Maybe because I live within my means instead of expecting an inheritance to fund my lifestyle." "Of course you're not struggling. You only have yourself to worry about. No family responsibilities, no real obligations. Must be nice to be so selfish." The word hung between us like a slap. Selfish. For working hard, paying my own way, not breeding beyond my budget. "You know what's selfish," I said quietly. "Planning to lock away your grandmother to steal her home. Excluding your sister from family events because she makes you feel insecure. Lying to everyone about why I'm not there." "I don't feel insecure about you." The protest was too quick, too loud. "Why would I? I have everything. The husband, the house, the children, the life Mom and Dad always wanted for us. Then why work so hard to keep me out?" She faltered for a moment, then rallied. "Because you make everything about you. Your career, your achievements, your struggles. It's exhausting." When have I ever made your events about me? Name one time." She opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence stretched. "That's what I thought. The truth is, you can't stand that I might be happy without following your blueprint, that I might have worth without a wedding ring or a baby announcement. At least I have a family. So do I. They just showed up to my party tonight instead of yours." Her face crumpled, then the perfect mask finally cracking. "It's not fair. I did everything right. Got married, had babies, hosted dinners. Why is she choosing you?" "Because I chose her first. Every Sunday visit, every doctor's appointment, you were too busy for every holiday where you dropped off your kid and disappeared. I was there because I wanted to be, not because I was angling for position in the will." Weren't you? When's the last time you visited her without asking for something money, babysitting signatures on documents? The lobby door burst open before she could answer. Mom and Dad rushed in, still in their party clothes, but looking decidedly less festive. "Andrea," Dad's voice boomed in the small space. "This has gone far enough. Where's your grandmother?" "Safe," comfortable, happy, which is more than you can say for how she's been feeling lately. Don't take that tone with me, young lady. We're your parents. When it's convenient, I shot back. Where was this parental authority when you were skipping my housewarming for Lauren's party? We explained that, Mom said tersely. Family emergencies take precedence. What emergency the catered food, the photographer, the custom cake? That must have been some last-minute emergency. They exchanged glances. Dad cleared his throat. Lauren's announcement was time-sensitive. She's 3 months pregnant. The baby wasn't coming tonight. You wouldn't understand, Mom said dismissively. When you have children someday... Stop. I held up my hand. Stop using hypothetical children to dismiss my actual life. Stop pretending Lauren's choices are achievements while mine are placeholders. And stop lying to me. We have never lied to you, Dad said stiffly. I pulled out my phone, showing them the email where Mom confirmed they'd attend my housewarming. 3 weeks ago. Wouldn't miss it, you said. More uncomfortable glances. Lauren suddenly found the mailboxes fascinating. Plans change, Mom said weakly. Plans changed. But you couldn't tell me that. Couldn't say, hey, Andrea, we have a conflict, can we work something out? Instead, you strung me along until the last minute, then acted like I was unreasonable for expecting you to show up. You're being dramatic, Lauren interjected. They were trying to spare your feelings. By letting me cook for them, set places for them, wait for them while you all laughed at Lauren's house about how I was probably alone with my sad little party. The guilt that flashed across their faces confirmed my suspicion. They had laughed about it, made jokes about poor Andrea and her studio apartment while toasting Lauren's expanding family. Grandma told me, I continued, about the nursing home, the power of attorney, your plans for the brownstone. Did you really think she wouldn't figure it out? Dad's face flushed. That's a private family matter. I'm family, theoretically. Yet somehow I wasn't included in these discussions about Grandma's future. Because you'd overreact, Mom said. Like you're doing now. We were exploring options for her care. Her money, you mean, her property. That property should benefit the family, Lauren burst out. Not just sit there while she rattles around in it. We could sell it, invest the money, make sure everyone's taken care of. Everyone being you and Mom and Dad? Why not I'm the one with children to raise? Mom and Dad need security for their retirement. What do you need it for? More designer handbags, fancy vacations? I laughed, actually laughed. Designer handbags. Have you seen how I live? I shop at thrift stores. I clip coupons. I work 60-hour weeks to afford a studio apartment. The only vacations I take are in my imagination because I'm too busy supplementing Mom and Dad's income to afford real ones. What are you talking about? Lauren looked genuinely confused. I pulled up my banking app showing the regular transfers. $300 here, $500 there. Their car insurance, Mom's dental work, the loan for Dad's fishing trip, all while you're living rent-free in a $3 million house. The silence was deafening. We were going to pay you back, Mom said quietly. No, you weren't. We all know that. And it's fine, really. I wanted to help. But don't stand there and act like I'm some selfish monster while I'm literally funding your lifestyle. We didn't ask you to Dad started. You didn't have to. That's what family does, right? Take care of each other, except it only seems to go one direction in this family. The security door opened again. Megan walked in, keys in hand. She lived 2 blocks away and must have seen the cars outside. Everything okay here? She asked, positioning herself beside me. Saw the family reunion move to your lobby. We're having a discussion, Dad said coldly. A private family discussion. Funny how Andrea only counts as family when you want something, Megan observed. Like when you needed money for the car, or someone to drive you to the airport at 5 a.m., or a free marketing consultation for Lauren's failed craft business. Megan, I warned, but she was on a roll. 5 years I've watched this. Every holiday where Andrea bends over backwards to accommodate your schedules, only to be shuffled to the kids' table. Every achievement dismissed because it didn't come with a wedding ring. Who asked you? Lauren snapped. This isn't your business. Andrea's my best friend. Her well-being is absolutely my business, especially when her so-called family treats her like an afterthought with a bank account. How dare you? Mom gasped. We love Andrea. We've always supported her choices. Name one, Megan challenged. Name one time you've supported her choices without adding a but or comparing her to Lauren. The silence stretched again. That's what I thought. Megan turned to me. You good want me to stay? I'm good, but maybe wait in your car just in case. She nodded, shooting my family one last disgusted look before leaving. Your friend is very rude, Mom said. My friend shows up, I countered, which is more than I can say for you. Andrea, please. Dad tried a softer approach. Let's go upstairs, talk to Grandma, sort this out like adults. The adults who were planning to institutionalize her, I don't think so. It's not like that. The facility we found is very nice. Activities, medical care, social opportunities. She'd be happier there. She's happy in her home, the one you want to sell. That's not fair, Lauren protested. We'd make sure she was comfortable. The money from the house would pay for excellent care. And coincidentally solve all your financial problems. Why are you making this about money? Mom demanded. This is about family, about doing what's best for everyone. Everyone except me and Grandma, apparently. You know what, I'm done. Grandma's staying with me tonight. Tomorrow she'll decide what she wants to do, but I can guarantee it won't involve signing power of attorney over to people who see her as a piggy bank. You poisoned her against us, Lauren accused. Turned her head with your victim act. No, Lauren. You did that all by yourselves. Every ignored birthday, every visit canceled for something better, every time you treated her home like a hotel. I just gave her an alternative to being discarded. We would never discard her. Dad's voice cracked slightly. She's my mother. Then act like it. Visit because you want to see her, not because you need something. Include her in family events because she's family, not because it looks good in photos. Treat her like a person instead of a problem to be solved. Like you do. Mom's voice dripped sarcasm. St. Andrea, the perfect granddaughter. I'm not perfect, but I'm present, and right now that's enough. I turned to go, then stopped. Oh, and Lauren, delete that Instagram post before Grandma decides to get really creative with social media. She's got documentation you don't want public. Is that a threat? It's a suggestion from your selfish little sister who's about to go upstairs and make sure our grandmother is comfortable in my sad little apartment where she's actually wanted. I walked to the elevator without looking back. As the doors closed, I heard Mom say, "This is all your fault, Lauren. If you hadn't posted that picture..." The family unity was cracking. Good. Maybe if they turned on each other, they'd leave Grandma and me alone. Upstairs, I found Grandma reading one of my books, looking utterly untroubled by the drama below. How'd it go? She asked, not looking up. About as expected. They're in the lobby, probably plotting their next move. Let them plot. I've got moves they haven't thought of yet. She patted the couch beside her. Come sit. Tell me about that nice boy, Tony. He seemed very attentive tonight. I laughed despite everything settling beside her. Grandma, really now? What better time life goes on, dear? Even when family disappoints us, life goes on. As I told her about Tony and my job and my plans, the weight of the evening began to lift. My family might be in chaos, but here in my tiny apartment with my grandmother who chose me and my friends who showed up, I was home. And that I realized was enough. By 11:30, the banging on my door started. Not knocking, banging the kind that neighbors complain about. Andrea, open this door right now. Dad's voice boomed through the wood. Grandma looked up from her book with mild interest. They certainly took their time getting past security. Mrs. Chen probably let them in, I said, recognizing the pattern. She's always forgetting the door code and just buzzes everyone up. Andrea, we know you're in there. Should I call the police? Grandma asked conversationally as if discussing the weather. I have that nice officer's card from when I filed the elder abuse report. You filed a report? This was news to me. Just a precaution. Detective Morrison was very understanding, gave me his direct number in case things escalated. The banging intensified. Lauren's voice joined the chaos. This is ridiculous! We're your family! I approached the door, leaving the chain on. It's nearly midnight. You're disturbing my neighbors. Then let us in. Mom hissed through the crack I opened. We need to settle this tonight. What's to settle? You chose Lauren's party. Grandma chose mine. Everyone made their choices. Your grandmother is not in her right mind. Dad insisted, trying to peer past me. She needs to come home where we can take care of her. Balderdash, Grandma called out cheerfully. I haven't been this clear-headed in years. Mom, please, Dad's voice cracked. Just talk to us. Grandma sighed, setting down her book. Let them in, Andrea, but keep your phone ready to call Detective Morrison. I reluctantly unchained the door. My family spilled into my apartment like water breaking through a dam. Mom's party dress was disheveled. Dad's tie hung loose, and Lauren had changed into yoga pants and a stained sweatshirt probably grabbed from her car. They stopped short, seeing Grandma comfortable on my couch, cup of tea in hand, looking remarkably unperturbed. Mother. Dad started his voice, attempting authority. This has gone on long enough. Get your things. We're going home. I am home, Grandma replied calmly. Wherever Andrea is feels more like home than that house where you plot against me. Plot against you? Mom's voice pitched high. We're trying to help you. By putting me in a nursing home, selling my property. Taking power of attorney, Grandma's voice remained level, which somehow made it more devastating. Strange definition of help. You're twisting everything, Lauren said. We found a lovely retirement community. You'd have friends, activities, medical care. I have friends. I have activities. My doctor says I'm healthier than most 60-year-olds. What I don't have is family I can trust. Dad flinched. That's not fair, Mom. We've taken care of you. Andrea's taken care of me. You've taken advantage of me. There's a difference. This is her doing, Lauren pointed at me. She's poisoned you against us. Probably wants your money for herself. Grandma laughed, actually laughed. Child, Andrea's been spending her money on your parents while you live rent-free in my house. If anyone's after my money, it's not her. We pay for maintenance and utilities, Lauren protested. Oh, please, $600 a month for a brownstone worth $15,000 in rent? You're practically stealing from me already. Mom stepped forward. Dorothy, you're clearly overwhelmed, making rash decisions. Why don't you come stay with us for a few days? We can sort this all out calmly. So, you can have me declared incompetent? I think not. I've seen the emails, Janet. The ones where you discuss having Marcus evaluate my mental state. The color drained from Mom's face. How did you... I'm old, not stupid. And I know how to check browsing history when you use my computer. Those were private conversations, Dad said stiffly. About me. Planning my future without my input. Tell me, when exactly were you going to inform me about this nursing home plan, before or after you had me committed? It's not like that, Lauren insisted. We were exploring options for when you need more care. I'll decide when I need more care. Not you, not your husband, and certainly not while I'm still capable of doing the New York Times crossword in pen. I stayed quiet, watching my family scramble for justifications. Each excuse sounded weaker than the last. What about Lauren's children? Mom tried. Don't they deserve stability, a proper home? They have a home that I've generously provided at far below market rate, but apparently that's not enough. You want it all. That's not we don't, Lauren stammered. Then why the power of attorney papers hidden in Marcus's briefcase, the ones naming you as executor of my estate? Lauren's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Those were just in case you could convince me to sign them or forge my signature. Which was it? How dare you? Lauren's facade finally cracked completely. We would never forge anything. We're not criminals. No, just opportunists who see an old woman as an obstacle to wealth. You're not an obstacle, Dad said desperately. You're my mother. We love you. Funny way of showing it. When's the last time you visited without needing something? When's the last time you called just to chat? Silence. But Andrea. Grandma continued, visits every Sunday, calls 3 times a week, remembers my doctor appointments, brings me library books, takes me to lunch at that little Indian place I like. Not because she has to, because she wants to. We have busy lives, Mom protested. Lauren has children. We have obligations. And Andrea has a demanding career, yet she makes time. Curious how that works. My phone buzzed. A text from my neighbor. Everything okay, heard shouting. I typed back, family drama, sorry for the noise. The bottom line. Dad said trying to regain control is that you're making decisions based on emotion rather than logic. The brownstone is too big for you. The retirement community would be safer. The brownstone is perfect for me. 3 floors, yes, but I only use 2. The garden I've tended for 40 years. Neighbors who know me. Memories of your father in every room. You want me to give that up so Lauren can renovate? That's not the only reason, Lauren said quickly. Name another, a real one. More silence. Grandma pulled out her phone, a smartphone I hadn't known she owned. Shall I read the family group text I'm not supposed to know about, the one where you discuss expediting the transition of my assets? You're in the family chat, Mom gasped. Emma added me months ago. Bless her heart, she thought I was being excluded by accident. Imagine my surprise reading your plans for my future. She scrolled through her phone. Here's a good one. Lauren saying, once we get the brownstone, we can finally afford James's prep school. Or this gem from Janet, the sooner we handle the mom situation, the better. The mom situation. Dad turned on my mother. That's what you call her. It was taken out of context, Mom said weakly. What context makes that acceptable? I finally spoke up. What context makes plotting against an elderly family member okay? Stay out of this, Andrea, Lauren snapped. This is between us and Grandma. No. See, that's where you're wrong. Grandma's staying with me. That makes it my business, and I'm not going to stand by while you bully her. Bully. Dad's voice rose. We're her family. Then act like it. I snapped back. Stop treating her like a problem to be solved and start treating her like a person worth respecting. You have no idea what we've dealt with, Mom said. The worry, the responsibility. What worry she's healthier than most people our age? What responsibility Lauren lives in her house practically free while I handle her appointments and visits? You don't have children, Lauren said, as if that explained everything. You don't understand the pressure. Private school, college funds, extracurriculars. Then live within your means. Don't expect Grandma to bankrupt herself funding your lifestyle. Easy for you to say, Lauren sneered. You with your precious career and no responsibilities. No responsibilities. I've been supplementing Mom and Dad's income for 3 years. While you live rent-free, who's the responsible one here? The truth bomb exploded in the room. Mom and Dad exchanged guilty looks while Lauren stared at me in shock. That's different, Mom stammered. We were going to pay you back. When with what Grandma's money after you put her away? Andrea, Dad barked. Enough. No, it's not enough. It's never enough. I work myself to death trying to earn your approval, your love, your basic acknowledgement, and it's never enough because I'm not Lauren. I don't have babies or a surgeon husband or a house in Westchester. I just have my integrity, and apparently that's worthless to you. You're being dramatic, Mom said, but her voice lacked conviction. Am I, name one time, just one, where you celebrated my achievements without comparing them to Lauren's? One time where you showed up for me without complaint or excuse? The silence stretched like taffy. Grandma stood surprisingly steady. I think we're done here. Robert, Janet, Lauren, leave. Now. Mom, please, Dad started. I said leave. before I call Detective Morrison and file a restraining order." "You wouldn't?" Mom gasped. Grandma pulled out the detective's card. "Try me." They looked at each other, lost and desperate. The power dynamic had shifted completely, and they didn't know how to handle it. "This isn't over," Lauren said finally. "We'll contest any changes to the will. We'll prove undue influence." "Good luck with that," Grandma said mildly. "My lawyer has recordings of my mental capacity evaluation, passed with flying colors, also have documentation of your schemes. Countersuit for elder abuse would be ugly." "You recorded us?" Dad looked betrayed. "No, you recorded yourselves in texts, emails, voice messages about expediting my transition. My lawyer was thorough." They stood frozen, the reality sinking in. Their carefully laid plans were not just failing, they were backfiring spectacularly. "Go," I said quietly. "It's over. You lost. Not Grandma's money, you lost her. You lost me. You lost everything that actually matters because you couldn't see past dollar signs." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "Andrea, sweetheart, don't. Just don't. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. I need time to process the fact that my entire family plotted against the one person who actually loves me unconditionally." "We love you," Dad said brokenly. "No, you tolerate me. You use me. You compare me and find me wanting. But love shows up. Love celebrates. Love doesn't lie and scheme and exclude. Love doesn't require a medical degree or a pregnancy announcement to be worthy." I opened the door. "Please leave. Grandma needs rest. So do I." They filed out slowly, each looking smaller than when they'd arrived. Lauren paused at the threshold. "For what it's worth," she said quietly, "your apartment is lovely. I can see why Grandma chose to stay." It wasn't an apology. It wasn't enough. But it was the first honest thing she'd said all night. When the door closed behind them, Grandma and I stood in silence for a moment. "Well," she said finally, "that was invigorating. I haven't felt this alive in years." I laughed, surprising myself. "You're something else, Grandma." "I'm someone who knows her worth, and more importantly, I know yours." She cupped my face gently. "Don't let them dim your light, dear. It shines plenty bright for those with eyes to see." We settled back on the couch, the apartment suddenly peaceful again. My phone buzzed with messages, Megan checking in, Tony, asking if I needed anything, Sarah offering to bring breakfast tomorrow. My chosen family, the ones who showed up. "What happens now?" I asked. Now we get some sleep. Tomorrow we'll see my lawyer, make everything official. And then," she smiled, "then we start living life on our terms. No apologies, no justifications, just us being enough." As I prepared the pull-out bed, I thought about the evening. My carefully planned housewarming had turned into a family explosion, but somehow that felt right. The truth needed out. The patterns needed breaking. And break them, we would, Grandma and I, together. I woke at 7 to the smell of coffee and the sound of Grandma humming in my tiny kitchen. She'd somehow managed to make scrambled eggs on my temperamental hot plate and was buttering toast like it was any other morning. "Morning, dear. Sleep well." "Better than expected," I admitted, accepting the mug she offered. "You..." "Like a baby. That pull-out is more comfortable than my expensive mattress at home." She paused. "Well, at Lauren's home. I suppose I should stop calling it mine." "It is yours, Grandma. Your name is on the deed." "For now." She sat across from me with her own coffee. "But that's a conversation for the lawyer. First, I need to tell you something. Several somethings, actually." The morning light caught the silver in her hair as she gathered her thoughts. I waited, sensing this was important. "Lauren's husband, Marcus, isn't just having business troubles," she began carefully. "He's facing malpractice suits, 3 of them." I nearly choked on my coffee. "What?" "Apparently being a surgeon requires more focus than he's been giving it. Too busy playing investor with money he doesn't have. The lawsuits aren't public yet, but they will be soon." "How do you know this?" She smiled that crafty smile. Remember Mr. Patel from next door? His son works at Marcus's hospital, administrative side. He thought I should know, considering Marcus was pushing to be my medical power of attorney. Oh my God, and Lauren knows. She knows. It's why they're desperate for money. Legal fees are mounting. His reputation is crumbling. Without my property to leverage, they're facing bankruptcy. I processed this information pieces clicking into place. That's why the sudden push for the nursing home. Exactly. They need liquid assets fast. Can't wait for me to die naturally. She said it matter-of-factly, but I caught the hurt beneath. And Mom and Dad are in deeper than you know. That fishing trip you helped fund was actually Dad meeting with a bankruptcy lawyer. They've been living off credit cards and your contributions for 2 years. The room spun slightly, but Dad's pension goes entirely to debt service. They refinanced the house 3 times, took out loans for Lauren's wedding, her house down payment, James's birth, their one missed payment from foreclosure. Why didn't they tell me? Pride. Shame. And Lauren convinced them you'd judge them for their choices. Grandma's voice turned bitter. While taking your money, of course. My phone buzzed. Lauren's name appeared with a long text. Andrea, I know things got heated last night, but we need to talk rationally about Grandma's situation. Can we meet for coffee? Just you and me. I showed Grandma, who snorted. Divide and conquer, classic Lauren. Another text followed. I'm willing to admit we handled some things poorly, but you don't understand the full situation. Please. What should I do? Whatever feels right to you. But remember, she's not reaching out from love. She's reaching out from desperation. While I contemplated, Grandma continued her revelations. There's more about why your parents favor Lauren. Because she gave them grandchildren and followed their life script. Partly, but mostly because she looks like your mother's sister, the one who died. This was news to me. Mom had a sister, Catherine, 3 years older. Beautiful, perfect everything your mother wasn't. Died in a car accident at 25 just after getting engaged to a doctor. Your mother never recovered from the loss, or the comparison. And Lauren looks like her spitting image. Your parents even called her Cat sometimes when she was little, until I put a stop to it. Grandma pulled out her phone showing me an old photo. The resemblance was uncanny. So Mom's been trying to resurrect her dead sister through Lauren. And you, my dear, look like your father's mother, who your mother despised. She pulled up another photo. I could see myself in the woman's features. This is seriously messed up. Family usually is, but it doesn't excuse their behavior. Explanations aren't justifications. My phone rang. Mom. Answer it, Grandma advised. On speaker. Let's see what story they've concocted overnight. I accepted the call. Hi, Mom. Andrea, sweetheart, I couldn't sleep. We need to talk about last night. Okay, talk. Not like this. In person. Can you come by the house? Dad and I want to apologize. For which part? The lying, the scheming, the decades of favoritism. A heavy sigh. All of it. We've been under so much pressure, made bad choices, but you're our daughter. We love you. Funny how that love appears when Grandma's inheritance is at stake. That's not fair. Isn't it? When's the last time you called me just to chat without needing money or comparing me to Lauren? Silence. I'll think about it, I said finally, but Grandma stays with me. For how long? As long as she wants. After hanging up, I turned to find Grandma fully dressed, purse in hand. Where are you going? We are going to my lawyer, then the bank, then shopping for a proper bed for your spare room because I'm not spending another night on that torture device comfortable as I claimed it was. Grandma, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Andrea, I've enabled them for years. Gave money when I should have given boundaries. Let them treat you poorly because it was easier than fighting. I'm partly responsible for this mess. You were trying to keep the family together. At your expense. No more. She gathered her documents. Today we make things right. starting with removing Lauren as a beneficiary on my accounts. Isn't that harsh? Is it she's gotten hundreds of thousands in free rent? That's her inheritance paid in advance. The rest goes to someone who values more than my bank balance. We were preparing to leave when another text arrived, this time from Marcus. Andrea, I hope cooler heads can prevail. Your grandmother's assets require professional management. I'd be happy to discuss a fair arrangement that benefits everyone. I showed Grandma, who laughed out loud. Professional management from a surgeon facing malpractice. That's rich. Should I respond? Absolutely. Tell him your grandmother's assets are professionally managed by actual financial professionals, not opportunistic in-laws. I typed back, her lawyer and financial advisor have things well in hand. Thanks for your concern. His response was immediate. This doesn't have to be adversarial. We're family. Now we're family, I muttered. As we headed out, Mrs. Chen from down the hall emerged with her morning paper. Everything okay, dear? Heard quite the commotion last night. Sorry about that, Mrs. Chen, family drama. She studied Grandma with interest. This the grandmother who put them in their place. Good for you. About time someone stood up to those people. You know, my family... Seen them visit, always looking around like the place smells. That older one, always on her phone, never says hello. But you, Andrea, you help me with my groceries. That matters. Grandma beamed. You've got good neighbors. Sign of character. Oh. Mrs. Chen disappeared into her apartment, returning with a tin. Congrats on your housewarming. Made too many cookies. Please take. As we rode the elevator down, Grandma chuckled. Your real family shows up in unexpected ways. The lawyer's office was a revelation. Mr. Harrison had been preparing for this day, documenting everything with meticulous care. Mrs. Dorothy, I've reviewed all the documentation. The attempted financial exploitation is clear. We have grounds for protective orders if needed. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Grandma said, but keep them ready. He walked us through the changes. Trust funds were established. Power of attorney was formally transferred. Lauren's access to all accounts was revoked. There will likely be pushback, he warned. Let them push, Grandma said firmly. I've got 8 years left according to my doctor. I plan to spend them appreciated, not exploited. Next came the bank, where Grandma added me to her primary accounts for convenience. The banker, who'd known her for years, seemed relieved. I'm glad you're taking precautions, Mrs. Dorothy. We've seen too many cases of elder financial abuse. Not this elder, Grandma assured him. Our shopping expedition turned into an adventure. Grandma insisted on buying not just a bed, but a whole bedroom set for my spare room. If I'm visiting regularly, I need proper furniture, she declared, testing mattresses like a professional. Grandma, this is too much. Nonsense. Consider it retroactive birthday presents for all the years I gave you checks while Lauren got jewelry. You gave Lauren jewelry? Your mother's idea. Said you wouldn't appreciate nice things. She paused. Another lie, clearly. You've made that apartment beautiful on a shoestring budget. My phone had been buzzing all morning. Family group texts I was apparently now included in filled with recriminations and demands for family meetings. I ignored them all. But one message stood out. From Emma. Heard about everything. Team Andrea all the way. Also, did you know Lauren's been telling people you have a drinking problem, might want to address that? I showed Grandma, who shook her head. The lies get deeper. We need to document everything. Already on it, I said, screenshotting conversations. Mr. Harrison suggested keeping records. Smart man. Speaking of which, we should discuss your promotion. What promotion? The one you'll get when you're not exhausted from supporting everyone else. I've seen your work, Andrea. You're brilliant. Time to shine without dimming yourself for others' comfort. We had lunch at the little Indian place Grandma loved, where the owner greeted her by name and fussed over her order. Normal, everyday kindness that meant more than grand gestures. I've been thinking, Grandma said over chicken tikka, about your parents. They're weak, not evil, but weakness can cause just as much damage. Are you defending them? understanding them. There's a difference. Your mother never recovered from Catherine's death. Your father never stood up to her grief. They created a dynamic where you could never win because you weren't the ghost they were chasing. And Lauren knew this. Lauren exploited it. Consciously or not, she played the part they needed. The resurrection of Catherine, complete with the doctor husband and perfect life. Until it all fell apart. Reality has a way of intruding on fantasies. Marcus's failures, the financial pressure, the desperate schemes, all symptoms of lives built on illusions. My phone rang, Tony from work. Hey, I answered, everything okay? That's my question. Saw some concerning social media posts. Your sister's claiming you kidnapped your grandmother. Of course she is. I put him on speaker. Tony, meet my very unkidnapped grandmother. Hello, young man, Grandma called out. I'm being held hostage by Chicken Tikka and excellent company. Tony laughed. Glad to hear it. Andrea, heads up, this is getting messy online. Want me to help with damage control? What kind of damage? Lauren's posting about elderly manipulation, inheritance theft, family betrayal. Getting some traction. Grandma grabbed my phone. Tony, dear, this is Dorothy. Screenshot everything. We'll need it for the defamation suit. Defamation suit? I asked. Oh yes, if she wants to play public victim, she'll learn that lies have consequences. After lunch, we stopped by the brownstone so Grandma could pack properly. The house felt different, no longer a family home, but a stage set for Lauren's perfect life performance. Lauren's car was in the driveway. She emerged as we pulled up, dressed in her best concerned daughter costume. Grandma, thank God you're okay. I was so worried. Were you worried about the locks being changed? Grandma strode past her. What the locks? Why would you? Lauren followed us inside. Andrea, what have you done? Nothing. Grandma's making her own choices. She's clearly being influenced. This isn't like her. Grandma turned from the stairs. You're right. The old me would have let you continue bleeding me dry while treating Andrea like furniture. The new me has a spine. Get used to it. We went upstairs, leaving Lauren sputtering in the foyer. Grandma packed efficiently, taking photos and documents I hadn't known existed. Insurance, she explained, in case things disappear. Lauren appeared in the doorway. We need to talk about this. The house, the arrangements. 30 days, Grandma said briskly. You have 30 days to find alternative housing. What, you can't evict us? Actually, I can. Month-to-month rental agreement, which you insisted on to avoid tenant rights. Works both ways. Where will we go? What about James? Perhaps Marcus's parents. Oh, wait, they cut him off after the second malpractice suit. Well, I'm sure you'll figure it out. You're so resourceful when it comes to other people's money. Lauren's face crumbled. I'm pregnant. You'd throw out a pregnant woman. I'm giving a pregnant woman 30 days to find appropriate housing. More than you gave me when planning my nursing home imprisonment. That's not what... Lauren stopped realizing she'd admitted to the plan. Exactly, Grandma zipped her suitcase. Andrea, be a dear and carry this down. As we left, Lauren made one last attempt. What about family? What about forgiveness? Grandma paused. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's not enabling. And family shows up for each other. You showed up for my money. Andrea showed up for me. That's the difference. We drove away in silence, Lauren standing in the doorway of the house that would soon no longer be hers. I felt a pang of sympathy until I remembered the lies, the schemes, the casual cruelty. You okay? Grandma asked. Getting there, this is a lot to process. Take your time. Healing isn't linear. But remember, you didn't break the family. You revealed what was already broken. Back at my apartment, we found a delivery, a huge flower arrangement from my team at work. The card read, "To Andrea and honorary Grandma Dorothy, real family is chosen. We choose you." Grandma teared up. Oh, that's lovely. My phone buzzed with more messages. Friends checking in, co-workers offering support, my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, inviting us for tea. The network of people who actually cared revealing itself. You know what? I said, arranging the flowers on my thrift store table. I think we're going to be just fine." "Better than fine," Grandma corrected. "We're going to thrive, both of us, finally." As evening fell, we ordered Chinese food and watched old movies comfortable in shared silence. My tiny apartment felt fuller with her there, not just with furniture or belongings, but with the presence of someone who saw me clearly and loved what they saw. My phone continued buzzing with family drama, but for the first time, I didn't feel compelled to answer. The truth was out. The patterns were broken. And tomorrow we'd start building something better. Monday morning arrived with a barrage of texts, emails, and voicemails. I'd turned my phone to silent, but the screen lit up constantly with family attempting damage control. Grandma and I enjoyed a quiet breakfast, ignoring the digital storm. Ready for round 2 with the lawyer, she asked, surprisingly chipper, for someone upending decades of family dynamics. "As ready as I'll ever be. You sure about the eviction?" 30 days is generous, more than they gave me when planning my institutionalization. She sipped her coffee thoughtfully, though I suspect they'll try to negotiate. As if on cue, my phone rang. Dad. "Let me handle this," Grandma said, answering on speaker. "Robert?" "Mom, this has gone far enough. Evicting Lauren. She's pregnant, and I'm elderly. Didn't stop you from planning to evict me from life as I know it." "That's different." "You're right, it's worse. I'm giving her 30 days notice. You were giving me none." "Can we at least discuss this rationally as a family?" Grandma's laugh was sharp. "Now we're family. Where was this family feeling when you excluded Andrea from gatherings? When you plotted behind my back, family is earned, Robert. You've been withdrawing from that account without deposits for years. It's overdrawn. Mom, please, at least let us present our side. Present away, you have 2 minutes." Dad cleared his throat. "Lauren and Marcus are in crisis. The malpractice suits, yes, we know you know, are devastating them. They could lose everything. As parents, Janet and I have been trying to help, but we're stretched thin. The family home was their stability." "My home," Grandma corrected, "which I allowed them to use out of generosity, a generosity that was repaid with schemes and betrayal." "We never meant—" "2 minutes are up," she hung up. I stared at her. "You're really not messing around." "I'm 82 years old, dear. I don't have time for games." She stood gathering her purse. "Now let's go make things official." The lawyer's office was busy when we arrived. Mr. Harrison had assembled a team anticipating complications. "Mrs. Dorothy Andrea, good morning. We've prepared several documents based on our discussion yesterday. First, the formal eviction notice." He slid papers across the desk. 30 days as promised, legal and binding. Second, cease and desist orders for defamation. Lauren's social media campaign has crossed legal boundaries. I pulled out my phone. She posted again this morning. Claims I'm isolating Grandma, controlling her finances. Perfect, more evidence. He made notes. Third, we've expedited the trust documentation. Everything will be transferred by end of business today. What about challenges, I asked. They mentioned contesting everything. Let them try. We have comprehensive documentation of mental capacity evidence of attempted exploitation and clear proof of Mrs. Dorothy's wishes. Any competent judge would dismiss their claims. Another lawyer entered. "Sorry to interrupt, there's a Marcus Williams here demanding to see Mrs. Dorothy." Grandma sighed. "Send him in. Let's get this over with." Marcus entered in his surgical scrubs, clearly coming from or going to work. His usual pompous demeanor was replaced by barely controlled desperation. "Dorothy," he began, then noticed the lawyers. "This seems excessive." "Attempting to steal my home seems excessive, but here we are," Grandma replied coolly. "No one's stealing anything. We're family." "You're my granddaughter's husband. That's a legal relationship, not an emotional one. And given your current legal troubles, I'd think carefully before making any claims on my assets." His face flushed. "Those lawsuits are frivolous. I'll be vindicated." 3 separate malpractice suits, all frivolous, Mr. Harrison interjected. "Interesting defense. Marcus turned to me. Andrea, you can't let her do this. Think about James, your nephew. The nephew I've seen twice in 3 years, because Lauren didn't want him around my negative energy. That's not Lauren never said that. I pulled up my phone showing saved texts, Lauren explicitly stating she didn't want James picking up my career-obsessed habits. Marcus's shoulders sagged. We're desperate, okay? The legal fees, the mortgage on our actual house credit cards, we're drowning. The brownstone is our only asset. It's not your asset, Grandma said firmly. It's mine, and I'm done subsidizing your poor financial decisions. So, you'll let your grandchildren suffer end up homeless? You're a surgeon. Lauren has a degree. You're capable of working and finding appropriate housing. Millions of families manage without stolen inheritances. We weren't stealing. What else do you call secretly planning to institutionalize me to access my property? Marcus had no answer. He turned to leave, then paused. You know they'll never forgive you for this, either of you. Forgiveness requires acknowledgement of wrongdoing, I said quietly. So far, all I've heard are justifications and blame. When any of you can admit what you did was wrong, genuinely wrong, not just poorly executed, then we can discuss forgiveness. After he left, Mr. Harrison completed the paperwork. Everything was official: the eviction, the trust, the protective orders if needed. One more thing, he said, producing a final document. Andrea, your grandmother wants to establish an immediate gift, $50,000 for a house down payment. Grandma, no. Yes, you've paid your parents' bills while paying rent. Time you built equity for yourself. Her tone brooked no argument. Consider it partial repayment for all you've done. I didn't do it for money, which is exactly why you deserve it. We left the office emotionally drained but legally protected. My phone showed 17 missed calls from various family members. Lunch, Grandma suggested. That place with the excellent soup. We'd barely ordered when Megan appeared, laptop in hand. Sorry to crash, but you need to see this. She showed us Lauren's latest post, a GoFundMe page. Help a pregnant mother facing homelessness due to elder abuse. She didn't, I breathed. She did, complete with photos of James looking sad. She's raised $3,000 in 2 hours. Grandma pulled out her phone. Mr. Harrison, yes, we need to add fraud charges. While Grandma handled legal matters, I read the GoFundMe description. Lauren painted herself as a devoted daughter, caring for an elderly grandmother who'd been manipulated by a greedy sister. The lies were breathtaking in their audacity. The comments are interesting, Megan noted. Some people are buying it, but others are asking questions, like why a surgeon's family needs crowdfunding. What should I do? Nothing yet, Grandma said, ending her call. Mr. Harrison is handling it. The page will be down within hours, funds frozen pending investigation. This is escalating beyond family drama, I said, because they're desperate. Cornered animals lash out. Grandma patted my hand. But we have truth and law on our side. Let them flail. After lunch, we returned to my apartment to find Dad waiting in the lobby. He looked older, defeated. Can we talk? He asked quietly. Just us. No lawyers, no recording. Just father and daughter. I looked at Grandma, who nodded. I'll go upstairs. You two talk. We sat on the bench outside the afternoon sun, casting long shadows. I failed you, Dad said without preamble. Not just now, for years, decades maybe. I waited, not making it easy. Your mother. After Catherine died, she was never the same. When Lauren was born looking so much like her, it was like getting her sister back. I let it happen. Let her pour all that grief into favoring Lauren. And I was what collateral damage. You were yourself. Strong, independent, different. Everything Catherine wasn't. Your mother didn't know how to love that. But you did. He was quiet for a long moment. I loved you, but I was a coward. Keeping peace was easier than standing up for you. I told myself it would balance out eventually. It didn't. No, it got worse. Every year the gap wider. By the time I realized how deep we were, it seemed too late to change. So you just gave up on me? We convinced ourselves you didn't need us. You were successful, independent. Lauren seemed to need more support. Because you made her dependent. You gave her everything so she never learned to stand alone. You gave me nothing so I had no choice but to succeed. Dad's eyes filled with tears. And now she's falling apart while you're thriving, despite us, not because of us. Is this where you ask me to save her, give up my inheritance, keep funding the family dysfunction? No. His voice was firm. No, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to say I'm sorry, and that I understand if you never forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me. What about Mom? Your mother is processing. Lauren's meltdown isn't helping. The GoFundMe was the last straw for many people. Extended family are asking questions we can't answer. Because the answers make you look bad. Because the answers reveal we're terrible parents. To both daughters, really. We created a monster in Lauren and abandoned you. Neither of you deserve that. We sat in silence. Cars passed. Life continued around us while we sat in our bubble of reckoning. What happens now? I asked finally. I don't know. Your mother and I are starting counseling, separately and together. We're facing bankruptcy unless we make major changes. Lauren and Marcus are imploding. The family we built on lies is collapsing. And you want me to feel sorry for you? No. I want you to know that I see it now, all of it. The favoritism, the neglect, the taking advantage. I see what we did to you. And I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't undo 28 years. I know, but it's all I have to offer. That and a promise to do better. Even if you never speak to me again, I need to be better. Why? Because I have to live with myself, and right now, that's very hard to do. He stood to leave, then turned back. Your grandmother is lucky to have you. You're the daughter I should have been proud of all along. I'm proud now, even if it's too late to matter. I watched him walk away, shoulders bent under the weight of his choices. Part of me wanted to call him back to offer comfort, but I didn't. Some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt with apologies. Upstairs, Grandma was on the phone with someone laughing. She waved me in. Yes, she just walked in. Andrea, dear, it's my friend Margaret from the senior center. She wants to know if you'll teach a social media class. Help us old folks navigate the digital age. Really? After seeing how you handled your sister's online attacks, several of us want to learn. Paid position, of course. I found myself smiling. I'd love to. Wonderful, see Margaret, I told you she'd say yes. Thursday at 2, perfect. After she hung up, I told her about Dad's visit. She listened without judgment. He may actually mean it, she said finally. Rock bottom has a way of clarifying things. Does it matter the damage is done? Damage can sometimes be repaired. Not erased, but repaired. Whether that's worth doing is your choice. What would you do? I'm not you, dear, but I'd probably wait and see. Words are easy. Change behavior takes time. My phone buzzed. The GoFundMe was down, replaced with a notice about terms of service violations. Lauren would be furious. Should I be worried about escalation? That's why we have lawyers and documentation. Let her rage. Truth has a way of surfacing. That evening, Tony called. Hey, so weird question. Your sister called our office asking about your employment status. Reception shut her down but thought you should know. She's trying to prove I'm unemployed, controlling Grandma's money. Seems like it. Don't worry, HR's aware. Any inquiry gets referred to legal. Thanks, Tony, for everything. That's what friends do. Real friends, not the Facebook kind. After dinner, Grandma and I worked on setting up her bedroom. The new furniture had been delivered, transforming my spare room into a comfortable space. This feels like home, she said, arranging photos on the dresser. First time in years. You're welcome as long as you want. Careful, I might take you up on that, though I suspect you'll be house hunting soon with that down payment. Grandma, no arguments. You deserve a real home. one where family is welcome because they've earned it, not because they're entitled to it. As we worked, I thought about power, how it had shifted so dramatically in 48 hours, from them holding all the cards to us holding our boundaries, from me begging for scraps of attention to deciding who deserved access to my life. You know what the best part is? Grandma asked, holding up a photo of us from last Christmas, one of the few where I looked genuinely happy. We get to decide what happens next. No more reactive living. We're in charge now. It feels strange, but good strange. Get used to it, dear. This is what healthy boundaries feel like. Foreign at first, but eventually natural as breathing. My phone lit up with another family text, this time from Emma. Proud of you, cuz. About time someone stood up to the dysfunction. Team Andrea forever. One ally among the chaos. Maybe there would be others, family members who'd been silent too long. Or maybe not. Either way, I had what I needed. A grandmother who chose me. Friends who supported me. A life I'd built despite the obstacles. Come on, Grandma said, linking her arm through mine. Let's make some tea and plan our week. I'm thinking museum visits, that new restaurant downtown, maybe a spa day. Time we started living instead of just surviving. As we headed to the kitchen, I felt the shift complete. The power was ours now. Not power over others, but power over our own lives. The ability to choose who we let in and who we kept out. To build relationships on truth rather than obligation. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. It was long overdue. And it was just the beginning. Tuesday morning brought chaos in digital form. I woke to find my Instagram had blown up overnight, hundreds of notifications, dozens of friend requests and messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Lauren's GoFundMe disaster had backfired spectacularly. "What's all the fuss?" Grandma asked, emerging from her room looking refreshed. I showed her my phone. Someone had created a Twitter thread exposing the lies with screenshots, timestamps, and receipts. The thread started with, "Y'all want to hear about the wildest family inheritance drama," and went viral. 30,000 retweets. I read in disbelief. How did this happen? Check the original poster, Grandma suggested. It was Emma. Her profile now read, "Calling out family BS one tweet at a time." The thread was damning. Screenshots of Lauren's deleted Instagram posts over the years, showing off expensive purchases while claiming poverty. Photos from lavish vacations taken while they lived rent-free in Grandma's house. The final nail, someone had found public records of Marcus's malpractice suits. My phone rang. Unknown number. Andrea Thompson. The voice was professional clipped. "This is Rebecca Martinez from Channel 7 News. We're covering a story about elder financial abuse and family inheritance disputes. Would you be available for comment?" "No comment," I said, quickly hanging up. "Media," Grandma guessed. "Local news. This is spiraling out of control." "Let me see that thread again." Grandma studied it carefully. "Emma's a clever girl. Notice what she didn't include. No mention of my assets, no specific amounts, nothing that violates my privacy, just exposed their lies." She was right. Emma had been surgical in her revelations, damaging to Lauren and my parents, but protective of Grandma and me. My work phone buzzed, text from my boss, "Andrea, heads up. Someone claiming to be a reporter called asking about your employment. We've directed all inquiries to legal. Take the day if you need it." "I should go to work," I said. "Show everything's normal." "Good thinking. I'll be fine here. Might organize your spice rack. It's chaotic." I showered and dressed carefully, aware that reporters might be watching. Professional, but not flashy. The last thing I needed was to look like I was flaunting newfound wealth. The subway ride was surreal. I kept checking if people were staring, but New Yorkers remained gloriously indifferent to everything but their phones. Work was supportive. My team had seen the social media explosion and rallied around me. Tony had even prepared a media response template just in case. "You don't have to use it," he said, "but if they ambush you, having prepared statements helps." "Is it that bad?" Sarah pulled up her laptop. "Your sister's name is trending on Reddit. Someone found her old blog where she bragged about living rent-free while saving for investments. She had a blog. Mommy blogger phase. Deleted now, but internet archives are forever. She showed me posts where Lauren detailed their financial strategies, including leveraging family assets for maximum benefit. This is insane. It's just family drama. Rich family drama, Tony corrected. Inheritance battles, elder abuse, social media meltdowns. It's got everything people love to hate watch. My phone buzzed. Megan, your apartment building has news vans outside. Grandma and I are having tea and watching from the window. She says to stay at work late. I groaned. They're at my building. You can crash at my place, Sarah offered. I've got a couch and excellent takeout nearby. Thanks, but I won't be driven from my own home. Grandma's there alone. Your grandma seems like she can handle herself, Tony observed. He had a point, I called her. Oh, we're fine, dear, she said cheerfully. Mrs. Chen brought cookies. We're having a lovely time watching reporters get frustrated by the security door. Don't talk to them, Grandma. Wouldn't dream of it. Though one did offer me $5,000 for an exclusive. I told him my story wasn't for sale at any price. I tried to focus on work, but concentration was impossible. Every notification made me jumpy. By lunch, the story had evolved. Someone leaked that the GoFundMe funds had been frozen pending fraud investigation. Legal Twitter was having a field day analyzing the potential charges. Then came the text that changed everything. From Lauren, you win. We'll leave quietly if you call off the lawyers and delete everything. Please, I'm begging you. I stared at the message. The sister who'd tormented me for years reduced to begging. It should have felt satisfying. Instead, I felt hollow. What do? I asked the group chat with Megan, Sarah, and Tony. Get it in writing, Megan advised. Protect yourself legally. She's pregnant and desperate, Sarah countered. Maybe show mercy. Mercy for someone who tried to institutionalize an elderly woman, Tony argued. I forwarded the text to Mr. Harrison. His response was swift. Do not respond directly. All communication through legal channels. This could be construed as admission of wrongdoing on their part. The afternoon brought more surreal developments. A Hollywood agent reached out about options for your incredible story. 3 publishers inquired about book deals. A podcast about family dysfunction wanted me as a guest. Delete, 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 I muttered, clearing emails. Actually, and Grandma said when I called to update her, that podcast might be worth considering. After dust settles, could help other families deal with similar issues. You want me to go public with this? I want you to consider that your story might help others, but not yet. Let's get through the immediate crisis first. By 5 o'clock, the media attention had attracted other attention. My LinkedIn was flooded with connection requests from financial advisors, real estate agents, and wealth management consultants. Vultures, Tony said, looking over my shoulder. They smell money. I don't even have money yet, just a promised down payment. That's more than most people our age have. Plus, you're attached to a multi-million-dollar inheritance story. You're catnip to these people. My phone rang. Mom. Andrea. Her voice was hollow, defeated. The reporters won't leave us alone. They're calling my work Dad's pension office. This has to stop. I didn't start this, Mom. Lauren did with her lies. I know. God, I know. She's not handling this well. Marcus left. What? This morning. Said he couldn't deal with the public humiliation on top of his lawsuits. Took his car and clothes. Left Lauren sobbing in their empty house. Despite everything, I felt a pang of sympathy. Is she okay? Define okay. She's pregnant alone, facing eviction, and internet famous for all the wrong reasons. So no, not okay. What do you want me to do? I don't know. I called to rage at you, blame you, but I can't. We did this, all of us. Our greed, our favoritism, our lies, and now we're paying for it in the most public way possible. Where's Dad? Talking to bankruptcy lawyers. We can't sustain this without your payments. Isn't that pathetic? We became dependent on the child we ignored. I didn't know what to say. The mother I'd wanted attention from my whole life was finally seeing me, and all I felt was tired. Andrea. She continued, I know I have no right to ask, but would you consider talking to Lauren not for us, for your nephew? He doesn't deserve to suffer for our mistakes. I'll think about it. After hanging up, I sat in my office staring at nothing. My carefully separated worlds were colliding: work, family, public perception, private pain. Go home, Tony said gently. Face the cameras, get it over with. Hiding makes it worse. He was right. I gathered my things, steeled myself, and headed home. The scene outside my building was ridiculous. 3 news vans, multiple reporters, curious bystanders. I put on sunglasses and walked steadily toward the door. Andrea Thompson. Can you comment on the allegations of elder abuse? Is it true your sister stole millions from your grandmother? How does it feel to destroy your family? That last one made me stop. I turned, located the reporter who'd asked it, a young woman with predatory eyes. I didn't destroy anything, I said clearly. I revealed what was already broken. No further comment. Inside, I found Grandma had ordered pizza and was watching the news coverage with fascination. You handled that well, she said, patting the couch. Come eat. Stress requires carbs. We watched ourselves become a story. Experts weighed in on elder financial abuse. Family therapists discussed toxic dynamics. Legal analysts predicted outcomes. It was surreal seeing our pain packaged as entertainment. I'm sorry, I told Grandma. This isn't what I wanted. No, what did you want? I thought about it. To be seen, valued, loved without conditions. Well, you're certainly seen now. The rest we're working on. She squeezed my hand. This will pass. Stories like this burn bright but brief. Next week, something else will trend. My phone lit up with another call. Lauren. Answer it, Grandma encouraged. On speaker. Let's hear what she has to say. Lauren's voice was raw, broken. Andrea, please don't hang up. I'm listening. I'm sorry, God, I'm so sorry for all of it. The lies, the schemes, the favoritism. You were right about everything. Lauren. No, please let me finish. I've been jealous of you since we were kids. You were so independent, so strong. Everything I pretended to be but wasn't. I needed Mom and Dad's approval like air. You just existed without it. I hated you for that. So you made sure I never got it. I told myself I deserved it more, that you didn't care anyway, but I knew. Deep down, I knew how much it hurt you, and I didn't care because I was so afraid of losing my position. Your position as favorite, as anything. Without their favoritism, who was I not smart like you, not successful like you, just a pretty face who married well and reproduced on schedule. Lauren. Marcus is gone. Did Mom tell you the prenup I signed means I get nothing? The house is in his name, the cars too. I have literally nothing but debt and a baby coming. And whose fault is that? Mine. All mine. I built my life on lies and other people's money. Now it's collapsed, and I'm 33 pregnant and starting from zero. The irony is I'm finally where you were at 22, except you built yourself up. I don't know how. Grandma and I exchanged looks. This was the most honest Lauren had ever been. What do you want from me? I asked carefully. Nothing. That's the point. I'm not calling to manipulate or beg or scheme. I'm calling to say you were right, I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But you deserved an apology without strings attached. Okay. I hear your apology. I can't say I forgive you yet. Maybe someday, but I hear you. That's more than I deserve. She paused. I'm going to delete everything. The posts, the accusations, all of it. And I'll make a statement taking responsibility. It won't undo the damage, but maybe it'll help. What about the eviction? Mom and Dad are taking me in. Ironic, right, moving back to my childhood bedroom because I spent my adult life as a parasite. But it's what I deserve. Nobody deserves to be homeless, Lauren, not even you. See, that's the difference between us. Even now, you have compassion. I need to learn that. How to be human without being cruel. Therapy helps, I said. Real therapy, not the kind where you manipulate the therapist into validating your choices. Already scheduled, twice a week. Can't afford it, but can't afford not to either. We talked for a few more minutes. No promises, no reconciliation, just two sisters acknowledging truth for the first time in decades. When she hung up, I felt lighter somehow. That was unexpected, Grandma observed. Rock bottom changes people. Maybe temporarily, maybe permanently. We'll see. What about your parents? One crisis at a time, Grandma, one crisis at a time. The evening news led with our story. Family inheritance battle goes viral. A cautionary tale. They'd found experts to discuss everything from personality disorders to financial planning. Our personal pain, professionalized for consumption. Tomorrow, this will be chip paper, Grandma said philosophically. Old news, but what we built from it, that's what lasts. What did we build? Boundaries, truth, a chance for real relationships instead of transactional ones. That's worth any temporary embarrassment. My phone buzzed with one final message of the day. From Emma, dinner Sunday, my treat. Want to hear the whole story from your perspective. Also job hunting and could use career advice from someone who actually earned their success. I smiled, typing back, would love to. Bring your appetite. I know a great Indian place. One real connection salvaged from the wreckage. Maybe there would be more. Maybe some family could be rebuilt on healthier foundations. Progress, Grandma said, reading over my shoulder. Slow but real. As we prepared for bed in my tiny apartment that had become command central for family reformation, I thought about viral fame, how it stripped away pretense, forced truth into light, made private pain public property. But maybe that was necessary. Maybe some families needed their dysfunction exposed to stop the cycles. Maybe shame could catalyze change where love had failed. You did good today, Grandma said, hugging me goodnight. Stood your ground without becoming them. That's strength. I learned from the best, I replied, meaning it. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, lawyers, media, family dynamics in flux. But tonight, in my small space with my grandmother who chose me, I was exactly where I needed to be. The storm might rage outside, but inside, we'd found peace. And that more than any inheritance or vindication was what mattered. 6 weeks later, I stood in the empty living room of my new 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, keys heavy in my hand. Sunlight streamed through windows that actually opened, illuminating hardwood floors that belonged to me. Well, me and the bank, but the deed had my name on it. It's perfect, Grandma declared, testing the kitchen faucets with satisfaction. Good water pressure, eastern exposure for morning light, and that Mrs. Rodriguez next door seems delightful. She'd insisted on coming to every viewing armed with a checklist that would make a home inspector jealous. We'd looked at 17 places before finding this one, a modest apartment in a building filled with families and young professionals, far from the drama of Westchester. I still can't believe it's mine, I admitted, running my hand along the exposed brick wall. Believe it. You've earned every square foot. She pulled out her phone. Now let's document this properly. First photo in your new home. As she snapped pictures, I thought about the whirlwind 6 weeks since everything exploded. The media attention had died down as predicted, replaced by other scandals. But the changes in my life remained. My phone buzzed, a text from Tony. Moving truck is loaded, ETA 20 minutes, Megan's bringing donuts. My chosen family showing up again? They'd organized the entire move without being asked, recruiting coworkers and friends to help. Even Mrs. Chen had contributed, insisting on packing my kitchen with the expertise of someone who'd moved 30 times. Lauren texted earlier. I told Grandma as we waited. She got a job. Really? Doing what? Receptionist at a medical clinic. Entry level, but it's honest work. First job she's gotten on her own merit. Grandma nodded approvingly. Growth. Slow but genuine. The past 6 weeks had brought surprising changes in my family. Lauren, true to her word, had deleted all social media attacks and posted a lengthy apology taking full responsibility. She'd moved back with our parents, was in intensive therapy, and had started rebuilding her life from scratch. The eviction from Grandma's brownstone had proceeded without drama. Lauren and what remained of her belongings fit into our parents' garage. Marcus had disappeared entirely, leaving divorce papers and medical debt in his wake. My parents were another story. Mom had started individual therapy after what she called the Great Awakening, realizing she'd spent 30 years trying to resurrect her dead sister through Lauren. Dad was working with a financial counselor to address their debt without my monthly contributions. They'd asked to see me twice. Both times I'd declined, not from spite, but from self-preservation. I wasn't ready. Maybe someday, but not yet. "Any regrets?" Grandma asked, seeming to read my thoughts. "About the family stuff sometimes. I wonder if I could have handled it better, less publicly." "You handled it the only way you could. They forced your hand with their schemes. The public humiliation was their own doing." The moving truck arrived with my meager possessions. It took less than 2 hours to unload everything my studio apartment life, fitting easily into the new space. Friends carried boxes with the efficiency of people who genuinely wanted to help, not those obligated by blood. "Where's the couch going?" Tony asked, slightly out of breath. "Against that wall. The TV goes opposite. Yes, I finally bought a real TV. No more watching Netflix on my laptop." "Living large," Megan teased. "Next you'll tell me you bought actual art for the walls." "Actually," I pointed to wrapped frames, "Grandma insisted." "Local artists," Grandma clarified. "Supporting the community while making your home beautiful. Win-win." By afternoon, the apartment had taken shape. My books lined built-in shelves. The kitchen was organized with a logic that made sense to me. Grandma's room, she'd insisted on keeping some clothes here for visits, was set up with the furniture from my old place. "This feels like home," Sarah said, collapsing on my new-to-me couch. "Warm but not cluttered. Very you." "Speaking of you," Tony said, pulling out a wrapped box. "Housewarming gift from the team." Inside was a beautiful serving dish with a note, "For hosting dinner parties where everyone's actually invited. Love your work family." I teared up. "You guys—" "No crying," Megan ordered. "We have champagne to drink and pizza to order. This is a celebration, not a therapy session." As evening fell, my new apartment filled with laughter and conversation. We christened every room, told stories, made plans. Grandma held court in the kitchen, teaching Tony her secret marinara recipe, while insisting cooking was a life skill everyone needed. "A toast," Sarah proposed, raising her glass. "To Andrea, who showed us all that family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up with boxes and donuts." "And who fights for you," Megan added. "Who sees your worth," Tony contributed. "Who chooses you again and again," Grandma finished. We clinked glasses, the sound bright and clear in my new space. This was what I'd been missing all those years, not grand gestures or perfect families, but simple presence. People who came because they wanted to, not because they had to. My phone rang, Dad's number. I let it go to voicemail. "You'll have to deal with them eventually," Grandma said gently. "I know, but not today. Today is about moving forward, not looking back." Later, after everyone had gone and Grandma had retired to her room, I stood on my small balcony overlooking the tree-lined street. Brooklyn sprawled before me, full of possibility and anonymous promise. My phone showed the voicemail from Dad. I played it on speaker, letting his words float into the night air. "Andrea, it's Dad. I wanted to say congratulations on the new place. Your mother and I are respecting your need for space, but we want you to know we're proud of you. Not for the apartment or the success, but for standing up for yourself, for demanding better from us. We failed you, and we're working on being people worthy of your time. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, we'll be here. Different. Better, hopefully. We love you. Always have, even when we showed it so poorly." I saved the message, not ready to respond, but not ready to delete it either. Progress came in small steps, not grand gestures. Inside, I found Grandma reading in bed, looking utterly at home. "Good day," she asked. "The best. Thank you, Grandma, for everything." "Thank you for giving me a reason to fight, for showing me I still had power when they tried to take it all." She patted the bed. "Now tell me about that Tony. He's been very attentive." I laughed, settling beside her. "Grandma, what, I'm old, not dead, and that young man clearly adores you." We talked until late, planning furniture shopping and dinner parties and all the life that would fill these new walls. The apartment was modest compared to Lauren's former brownstone palace, but it was mine, earned, honestly filled with love, free from manipulation. My phone lit up with a group chat, "Brunch tomorrow, celebrating Andrea's first night as a homeowner." I typed back, "Yes, 11 a.m., I'll make mimosas." "I'll bring bagels," Megan offered. "Fruit salad from me," Sarah added. "I've got the eggs," Tony chimed in. Simple offerings from people who showed up. No grand gestures, no strings attached, just friendship in action. "You've built something beautiful," Grandma said, reading over my shoulder. "Not just the apartment, the life." She was right. 6 weeks ago, I'd stood in my studio apartment feeling invisible and unvalued, begging for scraps of attention from people who saw me as an obligation, at best an ATM at worst. Now I lay in my own bed in my own home, surrounded by chosen family who saw my worth. The inheritance drama had been the catalyst, but this quiet contentment, this sense of belonging, this was the real prize. No amount of money could buy what I'd built through boundaries and truth-telling. "Good night, Grandma," I said, heading to my room. "Thank you for choosing me." "Thank you for being worth choosing," she replied. "Sleep well, homeowner." I fell asleep to the unfamiliar sounds of my new neighborhood, each noise a promise of the life I was building. Tomorrow would bring brunches and laughter and probably some furniture shopping with Grandma, who had strong opinions about coffee tables. But tonight I simply existed in the space between old life and new, grateful for the journey that had brought me here. My family might never fully heal. Lauren might relapse into old patterns. My parents might never truly see me. But I had this, a home of my own, people who loved me without conditions, a grandmother who fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself, and most importantly, the knowledge that I was enough exactly as I was. The apartment was quiet, peaceful mine, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly home. 3 months had passed since I'd moved into my Brooklyn apartment. Spring was giving way to summer, and with it came unexpected shifts in the family dynamics I thought I'd left behind. The coffee shop was neutral territory halfway between my new life and their old one. I arrived early, needing time to prepare for this first meeting with my parents, since everything exploded. Grandma had offered to come, but this was something I needed to do alone. They walked in looking older, smaller somehow. Mom's designer clothes had been replaced with simple practical wear. Dad's perpetual tan had faded, revealing the stress lines beneath. "Andrea," Mom said softly, "you look wonderful." "Thanks. You both look different." "Bankruptcy will do that," Dad said with a rueful smile. "Strips away more than just assets." We ordered coffee, no fancy extras we once would have chosen to impress each other. They waited for me to speak, first a reversal of our usual dynamic. "Why now?" I asked. "Why reach out after 3 months?" "Because we've spent 3 months in therapy," Mom answered. "Individual and couples, learning to see patterns we were blind to before. And we owe you more than an apology. We owe you an explanation. Not an excuse, an explanation." Dad pulled out a worn notebook. Our therapist suggested writing down memories, real ones, not the revised history we'd been telling ourselves. It's been illuminating. "I'd like to hear it," I said carefully, "but only if it's honest. I'm done with manipulation disguised as reconciliation." Mom nodded. "After Catherine died, I was 23, pregnant with Lauren, devastated. My parents kept saying how much the baby looked like her, and I leaned into it. Made Lauren my do-over Catherine, That's sick. Yes, it was. But grief makes us do terrible things. By the time you came along, the pattern was set. Lauren was Catherine reborn. You were... you. The disappointment. The reminder, Dad corrected, that life moves forward, not backward, that Catherine was gone. Your mother couldn't handle that truth, and I enabled it, protected her grief instead of protecting you. For 28 years, patterns become invisible when you live in them, Mom said. Every birthday Lauren shared with Catherine's memory, every achievement measured against what Catherine might have done. We thought we were honoring my sister. We were dishonoring our daughter. Both daughters, I pointed out. Lauren's as damaged as I am, just differently. Lauren's in intensive therapy, too, Dad offered, coming to terms with being cast as someone else's ghost. It's been brutal for her. How is she? 7 months pregnant, working full-time, learning to exist without a safety net. She's struggling but growing, like we all are. I stirred my coffee, processing. What about the financial situation? Chapter 7, bankruptcy. Lost the house last month. We're renting a small apartment now. I'm working security to supplement the pension. Your mother's back in retail. I'm sorry. Don't be. We built a house of cards on other people's money, mainly yours. It needed to fall. Mom leaned forward. We read the emails, the ones Grandma's lawyer submitted as evidence. Every time you offered help, every check you sent, every sacrifice you made, while we took and took and took, while funding Lauren's lifestyle. While funding our delusions, Mom corrected. We told ourselves we were helping both daughters differently. Really, we were exploiting one to enable the other. And now we're learning to live honestly, within our means, without expectations of inheritance or bailouts. It's terrifying and freeing. That's growth, I acknowledged, but it doesn't erase the damage. No, Dad agreed. Nothing can, but we're hoping to build something new. Not parent-child, we forfeited that right. Maybe just humans who share history and are trying to do better. What about Grandma still planning to contest the will? Mom's face flushed. That was fear talking. Fear of poverty, of losing control, of facing our failures. We've withdrawn any challenges. She was right to protect herself from us. She still loves you, you know, despite everything. We know. That almost makes it worse. Unconditional love from someone we tried to rob. Dad's voice cracked. How do you apologize for that? You don't. You change. You do better. You earn the right to be in her life again. Is that possible, earning our way back? I thought about it honestly. I don't know. Maybe. Time will tell. That's more than we deserve, Mom said. Would it be okay if I texted sometimes? Not pushing, just checking in. Start with emails, less immediate pressure. We'll see how it goes. They accepted this boundary with grace, another change. We finished our coffee with lighter conversation. Their jobs, my work-safe topics that didn't venture into deeper wounds. When we parted, Mom hugged me briefly. Dad squeezed my shoulder, small gestures appropriately tentative. I drove to Grandma's brownstone, still hers despite everything. She decided to stay after Lauren moved out, reclaiming her space. The garden bloomed with early summer flowers tended by her hands alone now. How did it go? She asked, not looking up from her roses. Better than expected, they seemed genuinely changed, or changing. Good. Change is possible at any age. Lord knows I'm proof of that. Any regrets about the eviction? None. Lauren needed to learn independence. They all did. Sometimes love means letting people face consequences. Speaking of Lauren, she texted, wants to meet before the baby comes, share some news. Oh, apparently Marcus signed away parental rights. She's doing this alone. Asked if I'd consider being in the baby's life, as an aunt if I'm willing. Grandma smiled. And are you? Maybe. Babies are innocent. Shouldn't suffer for parents' mistakes. Wise girl. Hearts have infinite room for love even when trust needs boundaries. We worked in the garden together, comfortable in shared silence. My phone buzzed, occasionally work things, friend plans, life moving forward. but I left it alone, present in this moment with the one family member who'd never needed me to be anyone but myself. "I've been thinking," Grandma said eventually, "about the brownstone. It's too much for me alone." "You're not moving to a retirement home, so don't even—" "Heavens no, I was thinking of converting the top floor to a rental. Extra income plus someone around in case I need help." "Thoughts?" "Could work. Want me to research contractors?" "Already done. But I'd love your input on the design. You have an eye for making spaces welcoming." We discussed plans until sunset when Tony arrived to drive me home. He and Grandma had developed their own friendship over the months, bonding over cooking and gentle teasing about my workaholic tendencies. "Dinner Tuesday?" Grandma asked as we prepared to leave. "I'm trying a new recipe." "Wouldn't miss it." "Bring that young man. He appreciates good food." Tony blushed but agreed enthusiastically. These Tuesday dinners had become tradition Grandma me, rotating friends, chosen family gathering around her table. "Your parents looked rough," Tony said as we drove. He'd spotted them leaving the coffee shop earlier. "Reality without cushions tends to do that." "You okay with reopening that door?" Cautiously. "They're different people now. Maybe we can build something new." "And Lauren?" "One reconciliation at a time." He reached over to squeeze my hand. "Proud of you. Boundaries with compassion. Not easy." "I had a good teacher," I said, thinking of Grandma. At home, I found a package on my doorstep. Lauren's handwriting, inside a baby outfit and a note. "Andrea, I bought this before everything fell apart. Back when I assumed you'd be the doting aunt to my perfect family. Now I know perfection was a lie, but I'm hoping the aunt part might still be possible. This baby will need people who value truth over appearance, who show up because they choose to, not because they have to. No pressure, just hope." Lauren? "P.S. I started a blog about rebuilding after narcissistic collapse. Therapist says it's healthy. Using my real name, facing the shame directly. Weird how honesty feels radical after a lifetime of performance." The outfit was simple yellow, gender neutral. No designer label, just soft cotton. Like Lauren herself, stripped of pretense, starting fresh. I texted her, "Let's meet Saturday lunch." Her response was immediate. "Yes, thank you. I know I don't deserve chances, but I'm grateful." My apartment had filled with life over the months. Plants from Megan artwork from local artists. Grandma discovered photos of moments that mattered. Not the staged family portraits of my childhood, but candid shots of real connection. Tuesday dinners, moving day chaos, Grandma conquering social media with terrifying efficiency. "You've built something beautiful," Sarah had said at our last gathering. "A life that's actually yours." She was right. The inheritance drama had forced a reckoning that went beyond money or property. It had shattered false foundations, revealed true colors, and created space for authentic relationships. Some family members had risen to the challenge. Others had shown themselves unworthy of trust. But all of us had been changed by the truth finally spoken aloud. My phone rang. Emma, who'd become a regular at Tuesday dinners. "Hey cousin, Grandma Dorothy says you're recruiting for the rental renovation. I've got design experience and desperately need a project. Can we talk?" "Come by tomorrow. Bring your portfolio." Family, I was learning, wasn't a fixed entity. It could expand and contract, evolve and transform. Blood created connection, but choice created relationship. And I was finally, carefully choosing. The evening settled around me peaceful in my earned space. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, work, family navigation, the eternal balance of boundaries and compassion. But tonight I had this, a home of my own people who chose me, and the knowledge that broken things could sometimes be rebuilt stronger. Not perfect, not easy, but real. And that was enough. 6 months later, I stood in the hospital corridor holding my hours-old nephew while Lauren slept. He was tiny, perfect, unnamed, as yet Lauren wanting to choose carefully this time, no family ghosts to honor. "He looks like you," Grandma observed, peering at his scrunched face. "Around the eyes." "Poor kid." I joked, but my heart swelled. Despite everything, this little person was family, innocent of our dysfunction, deserving of better patterns. The past months had brought slow, careful reconstruction. Lauren and I met monthly for lunch, rebuilding sisterhood from scratch. She documented her journey publicly, the narcissistic collapse, the divorce, the humbling reality of single motherhood. Her blog had found an audience of others recovering from similar family dynamics. "I'm thinking of calling him Daniel," she'd told me earlier. "It means God is my judge. Fitting since I'm done letting family expectations judge my worth." It's perfect. My parents had maintained respectful distance, emailing updates but not pushing for more. Mom's messages had evolved from carefully crafted to genuinely personal. Dad sent photos from his security job, finding dignity in honest work after years of financial scheming. They were in the waiting room now, having asked permission to be here. First grandchild, but they understood their presence was a privilege, not a right. "Should I get them?" Tony asked. He'd driven us all here when Lauren called panicking about contractions while alone. "Let her decide when she wakes," I said. "This is her moment." The past 6 months had clarified many relationships. Tony and I were officially together, taking things slow but sure. He'd seen my family at its worst and chosen to stay, which meant everything. Emma had redesigned Grandma's rental space beautifully, discovering a talent for interior design that her parents had dismissed as frivolous. She now ran a small staging business, helping others create welcoming homes. Megan, Sarah, and my work family remained constants, the backbone that had supported me through the chaos and celebrated the rebuilding. "He's perfect." Lauren's voice came weakly from the bed. "Like a little potato. The cutest potato." I agreed carefully, transferring him to her arms. "Andrea, would you be his godmother? I know it's a lot to ask, but..." "Yes." "Really, after everything..." "Babies get fresh starts. So do we if we work for them." She teared up. "Mom and Dad, are they..." "In the waiting room, waiting for your decision." "I want to see them, but only if you'll stay." "Of course." The reunion was tentative, appropriate for the damage done and distance traveled. Mom cried seeing her first grandchild. Dad stood awkwardly until Lauren invited him closer. They admired the baby without immediately offering advice or comparing him to anyone. Progress. "We brought something," Mom said hesitantly, pulling out a small wrapped box. "It's not much." Inside was a simple silver spoon tarnished with age. "It was Catherine's," Mom explained. "The only thing of hers I kept that wasn't loaded with grief. Just a baby spoon. I thought, maybe it's time for it to just be a spoon again, not a memorial." Lauren looked at me, seeking guidance. I nodded slightly. "Thank you," Lauren said. "Daniel will use it well." "Daniel," Dad tested the name. "Strong choice." "No family connections," Lauren said firmly. "He gets to be himself from day one." "Good," Mom said simply. "We all deserve that chance." The next few hours passed quietly. Nurses came and went. Daniel slept and nursed and made tiny noises that had us all entranced. Family and friends rotated through Emma with balloons, work colleagues with flowers, Grandma's friends from the senior center with enough food to feed an army. "This is different," Lauren observed, watching the parade of well-wishers. "When James was born, it was all for show. Professional photographer catered room people there for appearance. This is real," I finished. "People here because they care, not because they're performing." "I like it better," she admitted. "Messier, but warmer." Marcus had sent a clinical email confirming his legal distance. No interest in the child, no financial support beyond court-mandated minimums. Lauren had grieved that abandonment but emerged stronger. "Better to know now," she'd told me. "Daniel won't grow up wondering why Daddy doesn't love him. He'll grow up knowing he's surrounded by people who chose him." As afternoon wore on, I stepped out for air. The hospital garden was small but peaceful, benches scattered among healing plants. I found Dad there, staring at nothing. "Overwhelming?" I asked, sitting beside him. "Everything about the last year has been overwhelming." He looked older but calmer. Seeing you in there taking charge, supporting Lauren, you became the adult while we were playing games. Someone had to. I'm proud of who you became, despite us not because of us. That's both heartbreaking and hopeful. Why hopeful? Because it means you have strength we never gave you, which means Daniel has a chance at healthy patterns with you as godmother. We all have chances, Dad, if we take them. He nodded slowly. Your mother wants to suggest family therapy, all of us with a specialist in what we are. Enmeshed family systems with narcissistic dynamics. I supplied. I've done research. Would you consider it? Maybe. Let me think about it. Talk to my own therapist first. Fair enough. We're learning that everything happens on your timeline now, not ours. Not mine. Each person's own timeline. That's what was missing before individual autonomy. We sat quietly watching birds navigate the small garden. The father I'd craved attention from my whole life, finally seeing me when I no longer needed his validation. Ironic, but not bitter. Growth came in unexpected packages. I should get back, I said eventually. Andrea, thank you for showing up today, for giving us this chance, for becoming who you are despite our failures. Thanks, Dad, that means something. Back in the room, Lauren was teaching Grandma to swaddle Daniel while Mom took photos with her phone, candid shots not posed perfection. Tony had charmed the nurses into extra pudding cups. Emma was sketching the scene in her ever-present notebook. There she is, Grandma announced. Andrea, come tell this child about his inheritance. Grandma, Lauren protested, he's 6 hours old. Never too early to learn about compound interest. Grandma winked. I've set up education trusts. For Daniel and any future children you might have, Andrea. Same amounts, no favoritism. They'll have college funded if they choose it, trade school if they prefer, or startup capital for businesses. Options, not obligations. That's generous, I said. It's practical. This family's dysfunction was partly about scarcity mindset, never enough love money attention to go around. Abundance mindset changes things. There's enough for everyone when you're not hoarding or scheming. Speaking of abundance, Tony interjected, I brought Swiss rolls from that bakery you like. Figured new moms need sugar. Marry him, Lauren told me seriously. Anyone who brings stress carbs without being asked is a keeper. The room laughed, not the forced laughter of old family gatherings, but genuine warmth. Daniel stirred at the noise, opening unfocused eyes to peer at his weird, complicated, rebuilding family. Welcome to the circus, little man, I whispered. We're all works in progress, but we're trying. That's what counts. To trying, Emma raised her coffee cup in a toast. To trying, we echoed a ragtag bunch of reforming dysfunction, choosing hope over history. The sun set over Brooklyn, painting the hospital room golden. Daniel slept peacefully, unaware of the journey that brought us here. Lauren dozed, exhausted but content. My parents sat quietly, relearning how to be present without controlling. Grandma held court, dispensing wisdom and demanding wallet photos. This wasn't the family I dreamed of as a child, perfect, harmonious, effortlessly loving. This was better scarred, but healing, imperfect, but honest, chosen, as much as inherited. Ready to go home? Tony asked eventually. You've got that early meeting tomorrow. In a minute, I said, memorizing this scene. The first day of Daniel's life, but also a new chapter for all of us. My phone buzzed with messages, friends checking in, coworkers, sending congratulations, my therapist confirming next week's appointment. Life continuing beyond this room, rich with connections earned through authenticity. Aunt Andrea, Lauren called softly. Thank you for everything, for showing up when you had every reason not to, for teaching me that falling apart can lead to building better, for being the sister I never let you be before. We're still figuring it out, I reminded her. There'll be setbacks. I know, but we're trying. Like you said, that's what counts. I kissed Daniel's tiny forehead, hugged my rebuilding sister, waved goodbye to my reforming parents. Grandma would stay longer guardian angel with opinions about everything from feeding schedules to name pronunciations. Outside, Brooklyn hummed with evening energy. Tony drove while I processed the day, the year, the journey from that failed housewarming to this complicated but genuine celebration. "You okay?" he asked, knowing my silences. "Yeah, just thinking about patterns, how they break, how they begin, what we choose to carry forward." Heavy thoughts for a Tuesday. Every day's heavy when you're rewriting family code, but also lighter, like setting down rocks I didn't know I was carrying. "That's beautiful. You should write that down." Maybe I will. Lauren's not the only one who might benefit from documenting this journey. We drove home through familiar streets past the coffee shop where I'd first met my changed parents, the lawyer's office, where Grandma had reclaimed her power, the park where Tony had first said he loved me while I ugly cried about family trauma. Each landmark told a story of breakdown and breakthrough of patterns recognized and replaced. Not a fairy tale ending, but something better. A real beginning, messy and honest and mine. At home, I found a card slipped under my door. Mrs. Chen's careful handwriting. "Heard about the baby. Made extra dumplings. In your freezer. Family feeds family." Family feeds family. Not blood or obligation, but choice and care. The lesson learned through pain, practiced through patience, proven through presence. I heated the dumplings, poured wine, sat with Tony on my imperfect couch in my earned apartment, surrounded by evidence of life built consciously. Tomorrow would bring challenges, work-family navigation, the eternal balance of boundaries and connection. But tonight, I was exactly where I needed to be. To Daniel. Tony raised his glass. May he know from day one that he's enough. We clinked glasses as the city sparkled beyond our window, full of others navigating their own family labyrinths, seeking their own authentic paths. The journey from invisible to seen, from forgotten to chosen, from broken patterns to conscious creation, it wasn't finished. Maybe never would be. But that was okay. Some stories don't need endings, just new chapters. And this one was just beginning. 1 year later, I stood in Grandma's garden watching Daniel take his first wobbling steps between Lauren and me. The brownstone blazed with light, every window glowing for Grandma's 83rd birthday celebration. But this wasn't the stiff, formal gathering of the past. This was pure joy. "He's walking," Mom called from the porch phone, already out to capture the moment. "Lauren, your face, you look so proud." "Get in closer, Janet," Dad directed, manning the grill with Tony and learning the art of perfectly charred vegetables. "Andrea, turn him this way." I laughed, guiding my determined nephew toward the camera. The same parents who once forgot my existence now documented every family moment with enthusiasm bordering on obsession. Their therapist called it corrective experiences, rewriting history through present action. "Got it," Mom confirmed. "Sending to the family chat now." The family chat, another miracle of the year. What started as a cautious group text had evolved into daily sharing. Emma's design victories, my work presentations, Lauren's single mom triumphs, even Dad's security guard wisdom. No hierarchy, no favorites, just family attempting connection. "Time for presents," Grandma announced from her throne-like chair, surrounded by friends from the senior center, the neighborhood, and what she called her adopted grandkids, my friends who'd shown up when blood family failed. "You said no presents," I protested. I lied. It's my party. "Emma, dear, bring that enormous box." Emma emerged with a wrapped package nearly as tall as she was. "Fair warning, Grandma made us all cry at the store." Inside was a collection of photo albums professionally assembled. The cover read, "Our Real Family Story," in Grandma's distinctive handwriting. "Open it," she commanded. The first pages showed old photos I'd never seen. Grandma as a young woman, my parents' wedding, Lauren and me as babies. But as the album progressed, the narrative shifted. Blank spaces appeared where photos had been removed. The performance shots, the fake smiles, the staged perfection. Then midway through, everything changed. New photos began. My failed housewarming with friends rallying around me. Grandma and me at the lawyer's office, Tony teaching Dad to grill, Mom and Lauren in therapy waiting room nervously holding hands, Emma's first design showcase, Daniel's birthday messy and real. "This is our story," Grandma explained. "Not the pretty lie we used to tell, but the truth. The breakdown that led to breakthrough. The family we chose to become instead of the one we pretended to be." Lauren was crying. Mom reached for tissues. Dad cleared his throat suspiciously often. "But look at the last section," Grandma urged. The final pages were blank except for labels. Future celebrations, new traditions, chosen family grows, truth over performance, love without conditions. "That's for us to fill," she said simply, "together, however our story unfolds." "It's perfect." I managed through my own tears. "No," Grandma corrected. "It's real, much better than perfect." The party continued into evening. Lauren's blog followers had sent cards from around the world, others who'd found hope in her brutal honesty about family dysfunction. My parents, once obsessed with appearances, now served mismatched plates and laughed about their thrift store finds. Emma live-sketched the gathering, capturing genuine moments instead of posed ones. "Can you believe this?" Megan asked, appearing at my elbow with wine. "A year ago, your family was imploding on social media. Now look at them." I surveyed the scene. Dad teaching Daniel patty cake, Mom and Lauren planning a joint garage sale, bonding over decluttering their lives, Grandma holding court regaling Tony's parents with stories of her Uber adventure that started everything. "Sometimes things need to break completely before they can be rebuilt," I said. "Speaking of building," Tony materialized with a mysterious grin. "There's one more surprise. Grandma approved, don't worry." He led me to the brownstone's front steps where everyone had gathered. Even Mrs. Chen from my old building had come armed with cookies. "What's happening?" I asked. "Andrea." Tony began, and my heart stopped. But he wasn't kneeling. Instead, he pulled out a set of keys. "Your grandmother and I have been conspiring. The garden apartment in her building just became available. The tenant moved out last week. She'd like to offer it to us, together, if you're ready. You want to move in together here, 3 blocks from your current place. Your name on the lease, Grandma insisted on that. Your space, your choice. I'm just hoping you'll choose to share it." I looked at Grandma, who was trying very hard to appear innocent. "You've been planning this." "For months," she admitted. "That boy's proven himself, and I like the idea of you nearby. Not for dependents, for dinners. Big difference." "What do you think?" Tony asked, nervous now. "Too much, too soon, too close to family?" I thought about boundaries, about chosen family, about patterns broken and rebuilt, about the difference between enmeshment and connection. "I think," I said slowly, "that choosing to be near family is different from being trapped by them. And I choose this. I choose you. I choose us." The cheer that went up could probably be heard in Manhattan. Daniel, startled by the noise, toddled rapidly toward his mother, who scooped him up laughing. "Does this mean Tony's officially family now?" Emma asked. "He's been family since he showed up to that disastrous housewarming," I said. "This just gives him keys." Later, as the party wound down, I found myself on the same bench where I'd received the desperate late-night call that changed everything. But now, instead of drama and schemes, my phone showed only love. Photos from the party, messages from friends who couldn't attend, Lauren's latest blog post, "What happens after rock bottom year 1?" "Regrets?" Grandma asked, joining me with remarkable spryness. "None. Only that it took so long to stand up for what mattered. But perhaps that's the lesson. It's never too late to choose differently." "What's the lesson for me?" She considered this. "That you were never invisible, dear. You were just surrounded by people who chose not to see. And when you finally demanded visibility, you discovered you'd been building a beautiful life all along. The inheritance drama just revealed what was already there." "I love you, Grandma." "I love you too, all of you, even the complicated parts, especially those, actually. They're what make us real. As guests began leaving, each goodbye carried weight. Not the old performance of air kisses and empty promises, but genuine connection. Plans made and meant. Relationships tended consciously. Lauren approached with sleeping Daniel. "Thank you," she said simply, "for showing me that falling apart could lead to something better, for being the sister I finally learned to see." "We saved each other," I told her. "Just took the long way around." My parents were last to leave helping clean without being asked another small miracle. "Family therapy Thursday," Mom confirmed. "Dr. Martinez says we're making remarkable progress." "I'll be there." "And Sunday dinner," Dad added hopefully. "I'm attempting lasagna, your recipe." "Wouldn't miss it." They hugged me, still slightly awkward but increasingly natural, learning to be parents to the daughter they'd finally met. As Tony and I walked home for now soon-to-be different home, but always home with him, I reflected on the journey. From begging for scraps of attention to choosing who deserved access, from invisible to instrumental, from broken patterns to conscious creation. "Penny for your thoughts?" Tony asked. "Just thinking about family, how it's both what you're born into and what you build, how sometimes destruction is creation in disguise." Very philosophical for midnight. It's been a philosophical year. We passed my building, soon to be former building, the place where everything changed, where Grandma chose me and I learned to choose myself. "You know what I learned?" I said, stopping to look up at the windows. "Family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about who shows up when you're serving lasagna in a tiny apartment, believing you're worth celebrating exactly as you are. It's about boundaries and forgiveness and the courage to demand better. It's about truth over performance, connection over control. And sometimes," Tony added, "it's about an 82-year-old grandmother with a shoebox full of documents and absolutely no patience for nonsense." "Especially that," I laughed. We walked on, planning our move, our future, our portion of blank pages in Grandma's album. Behind us, the city hummed with a million family stories, some ending, some beginning, all as complex as ours. But this one was mine. Messy and painful and ultimately beautiful. A story of invisibility transformed into agency neglect, transformed into boundaries, performance, transformed into authenticity. And the best part, it wasn't ending. We were just getting started. "Home?" Tony asked, reaching for my hand. "Home." I agreed, knowing it meant more than walls and doors. It meant choosing and being chosen. It meant family earned rather than inherited. It meant love without conditions, truth without filters, connection without control. It meant everything I'd always wanted and never thought I'd find, until Grandma walked through my door with a shoebox and the radical belief that I was worth choosing. Sometimes the best inheritance isn't money or property. Sometimes it's someone showing you that you were valuable all along. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, that's enough to change everything. As we reached my apartment, I looked back toward Grandma's brownstone glowing softly in the distance. "Thank you," I thought, "for choosing me, for teaching me to choose myself, for showing me that family is what we make it. And what we'd made through pain and truth and conscious rebuilding. It was beautiful. Actually, it was more than enough. It was everything." Thank you for joining Andrea's journey. What would you choose, maintaining toxic family patterns for the sake of peace, or risking everything to demand the love and respect you deserve? If this story touched you, please comment below with your own experiences of choosing truth over performance in family relationships. Like and subscribe for more stories about resilience, boundaries, and the courage to rebuild. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they're worth choosing exactly as they are. Remember, you deserve a family who celebrates your achievements, not one that diminishes them. You deserve love without conditioned support, without manipulation, and connection without control. Most importantly, you deserve to be seen, valued, and chosen. Until next time, may you find the courage to demand better and the wisdom to recognize real love when it shows up, even if it arrives in the form of an 82-year-old grandmother with a shoebox and perfect timing. With love and hope for your own journey, Andrea's story will continue in your hearts.